This is Drink Talk, where we try to solve the world's problems one drink at a time. Every other week in this podcast, we talk about the topics of today and tomorrow while highlighting and enjoying beer, spirits, and wine from around the world and also crafted locally. Join us. We are your hosts, Brian and Brent.
Cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Drink Talk.
That was a hard stop right there.
It was a hard stop. Sorry, I tried fading it out, but I guess my fingers weren't fast enough.
Oh, that's
Easy
all
on
good.
the fader, Brent.
All right.
Yeah, Mike got excited. I think that was the first time outside of him actually being on the program that he heard the clinky, because he's the one that came up with the clinky, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I was part of that clinky.
That was awesome. That was you.
In the intro. Yeah, that was fun.
Nice.
So everyone knows Mike. He's been on our show quite a few times, and if you're a avid listener to our show, you would know this man is a wealth of knowledge on the topic we are going to be talking about today. But let's first start and welcome our first-timer guest here, B0des.
Hello. I'm just sharing the social media, trying to hype y'all up.
No, it's all good. We do like that.
We'll let you do your thing. We'll amp you up right now while you do it.
Well, this is a completely 100% live show, so you do not actually get a link until it actually happens. So I get it. I got you.
Yep. But I just put it out there. My name is B0des. I'm also from Omaha, Nebraska, but that's about the most I want to say about that part of myself. Trying to be anonymous. The word I've been using is pseudo-anonymous.
Yeah,
pseudo.
It's hard to be.
That's a good beer.
It's hard to be anonymous.
Yeah.
Pseudo-sue.
Yeah, love it.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much impossible to be truly anonymous. So
Yes.
Agreed. And we're going to get into that talk, but I want to talk about you a little bit. So,
Sure.
So you're a local artist here, up and coming. We talked about the genre a little bit, and I love how you described it. You said it was psychedelic experimental hip hop.
Yep.
And I think that really, when I was listening to your CD, which you can find on iTunes, what was the? Oh, you got it right up here.
Titrathe.
Yeah,
Yep.
Titrathe. Really got some really cool tracks on there, but it's not like when you hear hip hop, you think of like dance music, hard hitting. This is more like a chill. Almost like a chill electronica, but it's a beat poety rap hip hop,
Right.
like deep, meaningful lyrics. I dig it a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's pretty much the opposite of the current trends. I'm just, I'm trying to go against the grain a bit, so
Find a niche,
If
make a niche.
make a niche. If it does catch on, then I'm going to be in a really good position. And actually, there are people right now that are kind of starting to buy in,
Nice.
and I'm starting to get like legit shows,
We talked about it being underground and trying to be kind of an underground artist, trying to market.
Right.
I like what you said about that. It's like, imagine trying to market yourself, but you're an underground artist. So
Right,
it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit.
Exactly. Like I'm trying to be subversive. There are some things about the music industry I'm not the happiest about. So, but obviously that's a big contradiction when you're trying to go against the grain and yet you still have to sell yourself. It's a capitalist world. Mm-hmm. So, luckily, I'll just shout them out right now. Shout out Aorta Hip Hop. They've been giving us a lot of love. They've been opening some doors for us. We're getting like legit shows now for legit national acts where, it's all really happening now. So who knows? Who knows what happens next,
And to find you, that was difficult because when I first I heard the name, but I was looking for it, and it's not B0des, it's B0des.
Right. Because that search engine, SEO, search engine optimization, shout out Google. we all got to kneel before them.
Exactly. So if you want to go to his website, and you do have a website,
B0des.com.
Yeah,
and
DES.com.
let me just say right now, right up out the gate, the first video you'll see on there is on some deep web banned off YouTube stuff. So like it's not for kids, it's not for anything like that. And I just hit you with that right up front because I want to be real clear that this is something different. It's not, because give you an example, one of my big inspirations is Tool. Tool is a band
that was great.
When you bought them back in the day, you opened up their CD, it's like you might see some stuff that's just like, whoa, so it's like.
Don't open it at school.
Not meant for children.
And so that's kind of like what I like. I want something where I don't really want to waste my time, speaking to the wrong audience. Let's just filter them right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Try to find my niche and not waste anybody's time.
Nice.
Right
I
on.
appreciate
So we
that.
do actually have one of his songs here. It's one that doesn't have any cursing in it, so it's a little bit more laid back and subdued. But
Actually, there's no lyrics in this one.
no lyrics. Oh yeah, yeah.
No,
All right.
so we can start playing it, listen to it a little bit, and then maybe keep it as background music. So I'm gonna kick mine off, Britt, so you can do your thing on your end.
I just keep yours rolling because
Okay.
I
All right.
turned it down. Ones and zeros.
Yeah, this one
Just
it
love
does.
how chill it is.
Yeah, it has some vocal samples, but they're all unintelligible. I kind of like chop my samples and flip them backward and forward. Clams Casino, like the A$AP Rocky's producer, that's his style. I kind of bit his style on this track. I'm not gonna lie. Music is like the art of stealing, basically. So,
Yeah. Then why don't you talk about what the titrathe, what that actually means? Because I liked how you explained.
Sure,
that.
yeah. It's meant to be kind of a little bit of a puzzle, but I'll just spell it out right now because if you're listening to this, you might actually care about me, right? Basically,
You turned out just a little bit, Britt, and we'll put it as background.
it's just 2 words, titrate and wraith. So I combine those 2 words, meaning basically wraith is eager and titrate means to like change the dosage or something, like either titrate it up or down. And so all my struggles with mental health, I'm very familiar with titrating my medication, and I'm also very eager to get my medication correct, because like one of the things you struggle with if you have any mental health stuff is like the medication side of it. That's a whole mess of a thing, so
Well, America's got an opioid crisis problem, and I don't see you going down that rabbit hole, but there are people that quickly go down that rabbit hole
Lots
and
of
get
people, yeah.
stuck on
Right.
something they shouldn't get stuck on.
Right. Well, and then so let me just say, like, I've been hospitalized like 15 times. I'm not proud of that, but it's something that I struggle with. And like basically, one of the things I'll tell you is our current approach to mental health is like just throw a lot of medications at someone.
Yeah.
Just
Until they get it right.
just numb them out. Yeah, and then it's on that person to figure out their own stuff. They're not going to help you so much to like actually figure it out for you. You got to, as the individual, take it upon yourself to really get your medication right. You can't just depend on the system. That's definitely something I believe in. So
Nice. And like if you like this sampling, a lot of the music is similar. It's kind of I call it like I explain it as chill metal. I mean there's a hip hop electronic atmosphere to it, but it's a little more metal than just the chill electronic music.
Yep.
And I like it. It's pretty cool. But a lot of the tracks are very similar undertones to this music, and then the beat poet or hip hop on top of this.
Yeah.
It's
Be
pretty
rapping for you a little freestyle.
So, some are explicit, some are not. So you
Yeah.
can check the if you're on iTunes or whatever, you can check that and see. But yeah, let's keep this rolling.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the beer before we get a little too much into it, because we wouldn't be drink talk without actually drinking.
actually
on the
drinking
podcast.
stuff.
Yeah, so the first one that I chose, because we're going to be talking about privacy in the digital age, we're all of us here live in America, and this is American Beauty. Yep, and the Grateful Dead, because apparently the ones that have gone on before us are probably pretty grateful that they don't have to live in an age where everybody is under the microscope of
Put that kind of
everything
right
else.
up front there.
This is by Dogfish Head. It's their pale ale. It's
Put the beer
Yep.
can kind of up front in the middle there.
It's inspired by the Grateful
there
Dead.
we go.
It's kind of got a slightly cloudy amber. And you just want to switch me back over?
Yep.
Perfect. Slightly amber, little hazy. It's maybe.
Sorry.
I would say it's a pretty bright, little dry flavoring. I took a sip earlier. Have you guys started drinking on it yet?
No, I haven't
yeah.
touched it yet.
I have actually.
Oh,
it's
all right.
really good.
That's
All
a
right. Well, Eric
flagrant
Klinke-
lie.
Yeah.
Flagrant lie. I'm halfway through it.
Cheers, gentlemen. Dingo, dingo, dingo.
Oh, it's hard to get across. This
Very
is a big table.
superstitious.
Yeah,
I
that's all right.
gotta toast everybody.
All right. Good stuff.
Oh, and I see Drew.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Drew already put your website on the chat, so thanks, Drew. Appreciate
Awesome,
it.
thank you.
I didn't even get that cheers in the shot. I still was zoomed in on the bottle. But whatever.
Yeah, well,
Everybody heard it.
yeah. Yep. So, is there anything else that you wanted to talk? Because I know we've got another talk on top of this, so I wanted to allow you some time to put yourself out
how
there.
you got into it and all that stuff.
We got your
and-
CD here too.
I guess we already covered, it's underground experimental stuff. I mentioned the mental health
You got a
stuff.
show coming up.
I got a show coming up. I'm opening for B0des, homie, November 5th, Tuesday. Come check that out.
Where's it at?
That's going to be at the Lookout Lounge. That's just going to be a little quick 15-minute set. And then I had I had a headliner set just last week. That was beautiful.
Nice.
That was at, God, I'm sorry, my brain is so bad right now. That was at the Broke Down Palace. Shout out Broke Down Palace. They let us do, a little hip-hop night there every Sunday. And that's where I got my start doing open mics there. And, so, yeah, I got an opener November 5th. And then hopefully late December, be some more shows. Who knows, like, at this point, it's just, it's real, like, doors are opening. Who knows what happens next type
That's
thing.
great.
Yeah.
Keep trucking.
Britt, can you get him on the Wi-Fi over here? Sorry, he came in a little late.
Oh, yeah. I got you, bro.
No, is all this going to be on thebodes.com on your website?
Yeah, I'm available on all platforms. So if you just type in B0des, B0des, type it into Google, I should be the first match for like the first 2 pages, hopefully, if I did it right. And like every platform, Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Farmers, Christian, Mingle, all that stuff. Like I'm on everything, everywhere, live everywhere. And yeah, just like, I could talk about the music more later, but I mean that's like a good,
Let me know when that works.
good little intro, if you will.
No, I dig it.
Actually, I did
And
want to
it's, you're on
segue.
Gold Street.
Yeah.
I did want to segue into the privacy discussion. I got a beautiful segue for you if you want.
Well,
to
that's
do
why
that now,
that's why we're calling you B0des right now. So you're somewhat
Right.
pseudo anonymous.
Right. Yeah. So basically, the topic is what was the specific topic?
Privacy in the digital age.
Privacy in the digital age. So that's something that I've given quite a bit of thought to because I really started like doing the the album, like kind of the artist thing like 5 years ago, I would say, like real serious. I've been doing music since I was like 21. I play piano. That's really where it all started. Well, I started with freestyles when I was 21. I started playing piano about 2009. I could get into kind of that a little bit more if you wanted, but the short version is I had kind of like a psychotic break and I had like a manic episode, and then out of that I started playing piano, and that was actually a lot for my grandfather. My grandfather, Buddy Graves, is a local jazz musician. He played piano for like 65 years.
Wow.
And basically, long story short is that, the album, I couldn't really create what I wanted to create thinking about like, well, how is my job going to think of this? And how is other people who might get offended think of this, right? Because, I have the good to have problem of having a successful career and making money and all that. I'm not like a struggling artist or nothing, although please send me your money. I am struggling right now. But I had, it definitely was like a soul level thing. Like I got to get this album made. Like I was obsessed. But at the same time, I couldn't make what I wanted to make without feeling like I was going to destroy my career and all that. So basically, I could get more into it, but the short version is originally I was exploring being totally anonymous, and what I came to find out was unless you're like Banksy or something, like, and you have an entire revolution behind you, it is actually impossible for an individual person to be an anonymous artist nowadays and be heard at all. I mean, you can do it, but don't expect anyone to ever actually hear you. For someone to hear you nowadays, you got to put yourself out there to some extent.
Absolutely.
Come on
And
to
I
random podcasts and promote
Exactly.
yourself.
and what I learned is like that's the other thing is like there's this notion of the noble artist, right? Like, oh, you only make art just for art's sake, and that definitely was me. But what I found out is on the other side of that, at some point after you've made art long enough just for yourself, you start to feel a little bit insane. Like, what it almost is.
What am I doing this for?
Right. Well, and it almost becomes like a form of like masturbation or something. Like, I'm not trying to slam artists who make it for their own sake, but it's like, but if there is no audience, then really, what's the point? And so, essentially, I've had to like struggle a lot with, okay, well then, what type of anonymous do I really need, and how can I get that in the digital age? So.
You make me think of Sia. You know, Sia, she always wore that
SZA or whatever.
Well, Sia, she did the song Chandelier.
Chandelier.
That was her big one.
Yeah.
But she wore the huge wig over her face everywhere she went.
Yeah, so nobody knew who she was.
Or like Deadmau5.
But she was very pseudo anonymous though, because if you just Google her name, you could find a picture of her face.
Yeah.
She wasn't like perpetually in hiding, but whenever she would go on like public appearances and things, if she was going to go on Ellen, you know, she wore this thing, and if she was on stage, she wore this wig.
Wanted her music to speak for her, not her face.
Right, and sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, just so you know, I do have a mask that's fully almost complete.
Oh, right on.
And if I get the lucky problem of like, the music's getting the wrong kind of attention, I'm completely ready to go underground. I already got a plan to scrub like Facebook and all that. So like, there is a plan if I end up in that situation.
I can help you with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sia said on an interview show one time that part of her reasoning was not necessarily artistic. It was that as she gained fame, popularity, she had a drug problem coming into that, and she was in recovery, and that the more and more fame that she gathered, the more and more pressure she was under to relapse. And so it helped her to maintain a degree of anonymity. It helped her to maintain some anonymity because the fame was not helping her problem. And so she just she went undercover basically to some degree to avoid that problem. Which I can respect that.
I can completely.
I'm singing myself in a dark room.
Yeah.
I can completely relate. Like one thing I fully believe, at least for me, and I think it's true for a lot of people, is like you can't really get the fame until you let go of the desire for the fame. Like it's one of those like Zen things. Like
because when you're chasing it, you're trying too hard to.
Right, and what's going to happen is
people notice that.
Well, someone's going to like take you. Like someone's going to sell you that dream. You might get that fame for a moment, but there's something on the other side you're going to have to pay. You know, so like I'm at the point now where when people make me too many promises or like, oh, we can do this or that, like that's conversation killer to me. I'm looking for people like that come to me like, no, it's going to be hard. You're going to have to work hard. You know, I mean, those then my ears perk up. You know, I'm totally not into the fame glamour thing.
See, we just offered you free drinks.
Well, they haven't said that, please. You know,
yeah, that's why Mike keeps coming back too.
Yeah.
Well, that and this talk is right up his alley. So I don't want to get into what he does and all that, but let's just say he's very knowledgeable on what we're about to talk about here.
Well, I listened to the one episode, at least the majority of it.
The Secrets of Surveillance, which really ties into,
which is a 3-part series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it? We
went
long. We went long, didn't we?
We did.
We shut it down, and then we went back on again for one night.
I'm gonna have to finish
like,
it
this
all
is
now.
part 2. This is part 3. And we're like, no, this is just still part 2.
Yeah, we took like a 20-minute break to restock and then came back. That was awesome. That was a long night, but it was good. Like we were talking about some stuff that was like a little bit scary.
Yeah.
That I think that and that was probably a year and a half ago that we were bringing that up. So and this talk directly impacts it.
Just to share, and you can cut it out if you want, but because we're friends and I want to share with you guys, and to add credence to my knowledge set, I guess. In the spring here, I will be teaching cybersecurity at a local university.
Hey, professor.
And at the same time, I'm enrolling in a PhD program.
Is it the big university or the smaller university?
It's the online university.
Oh, even the smallest university.
To be fair, though, you know what? Everybody knows that we're here in Omaha, Nebraska. Bellevue University here in Omaha, believe it or not, has the biggest cybersecurity undergraduate and graduate programs in the nation, and the reason for that is because it's an online program, and they have contracts with Walmart, Chipotle, Offutt Air Force Base, and Stratcom.
So you got to hack your way into the program and hack your way out of it.
Well, so imagine any employee who works for all of Walmart in the United States and wants to take a cybersecurity class, they take it at Bellevue University online.
Oh, wow.
Bellevue University has over 800 students enrolled in cybersecurity. So
it's probably not enough either.
They need instructors, so I'm going to go ahead and do that next in the spring here. And
where's the PhD program out of? Or do you not want to talk about it?
TBD, I'm not going to share yet. Well, so here's the deal. Part of the reason I bring it up is that this industry is still so immature that there were no PhD programs in cybersecurity in the United States.
Well, and it's fairly new.
It's relatively new,
It's
depending
relatively new.
on what you're talking about.
Yes, the internet's been around since the 80s and all that stuff, but
70s, but okay.
Well, you know what I mean.
In any mass amount.
Any mass
in
amount.
in any consumable format. Yeah, fair
Three
enough.
people had an email back. So,
Yeah.
The chat room was 2 people. Yeah.
The 2 guys on the internet.
But yeah, now with growing applications and things of that nature, there's just more people connected to the internet to allow more information to get gathered off of wherever.
So there's been a dramatic workforce shortage in the cybersecurity industry for years and years.
Oh yeah,
HIPAA was published in 1996, and it wasn't really implemented or enforced until the mid-2000s. It took hospitals, healthcare organizations at least 10 years to really comply with HIPAA. And by the time they complied with HIPAA, high tech came out in 2006, right, which was effectively HIPAA version 2. And so HIPAA version 1 was effectively ignored. And then high tech, which was HIPAA version 2, came out in 2006. And that's when companies, hospitals, started to comply with HIPAA version 1. And so cybersecurity is hard, and it's come a long way, but it's still really immature. And there, from a workforce shortage perspective, there are millions of cybersecurity jobs in the United States unfilled because of the workforce shortage. Who knows what the cause is? Cause and effect, whatever. But people think it's hard, and so a lot of people don't do it. But
technology is changing so rapidly. So even if you get into the field, I mean, there's
you're constantly having to take classes.
Con Ed's not going to cut it.
Correct.
It's changing so fast.
Correct. And so to that end, there have been no accredited PhD programs in cybersecurity up until the last couple of years, and now I'm aware of 2 in the United States, accredited universities offering PhD programs. And I'm really excited about it because that means the industry has reached a point where the PhD has value. And I say that because I've always wanted to I have a master's degree in cybersecurity, and I've always wanted a PhD because I'm kind of a nerd. And
you just want to be called doctor. That's what it is.
Brian's not wrong.
Doctor. Doctor.
Because I'm kind of an academic nerd and I test well and school is my thing, and I want to go back to school, right? But what am I going to do? I got a master's degree. Then what? Go get a different one? That seems silly. So I was always on the lookout for PhDs, but they didn't exist until the last couple of years. And to me, that means that the industry has reached a maturity level where research is valued and necessary, and that there's enough data that exists in the industry and in the market to pull in enough big data to do research. And up to this point, that didn't really exist. We couldn't do it. Yeah. There was no point to go get a PhD. What are you going to do with it? There's no programs for you to go be a professor in cybersecurity. So why would you want a PhD? But we're there now. We're there.
Now we're stockpiling information.
Yeah,
and
precisely.
We need somebody to control that.
Let's go down.
We've been doing that.
We're headed down that rabbit hole, aren't we?
Yeah. I did bring up a whole lot of stuff here. I don't know what made you think it, because this is really B0des' topic.
Well, let me just say, side note, one of the common topics on the album is stuff about Bitcoin, Monero, crypto in general, crypto and cryptocurrency. I mean, in that context, because one of the things, in rap, as you guys know, is like, oh, gangsta rap, I'm so cool. I'll take your money and shoot you. And it's like, I feel like that stuff is sort of played out to me. And the thing is like there are rappers covering like Bitcoin and Monero like in songs, but the thing is it's always done in this like jokey way. Like, yo, I'm a nerd, I got Bitcoin here. Like, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna hit on these topics, but not in a jokey way, in like a serious way. Like I got shooters on the deep web type way, because like it's actually a cool thing, and like I feel like. Why is it always like a punchline? Like I don't like gimmick like punchline type rappers. I mean, I like them. No, shout out Weird Al and all that. Like, but what I'm saying is like if I really want to listen to something and feel it, I don't want to listen to a punchline. And so I just to tie it all again another way. Like, by the way, cryptography is hard. I cannot believe that there's just now doctorates for that. Like that's blowing my mind. Like how many great discoveries do we have because of things like encryption? You know, like
Yeah.
so like World War II. You know, transferring all that info and stuff. It's like that's actually surprising.
Yeah. Was it,
Yeah.
What was that? The imitation game? What was that? The Enigma machine. This
Yeah.
was with Benedict Cumberbatch. I love that name.
There's a version of the Enigma machine that is made into video game that you can play online. If you ever want to go try and break the Enigma machine and hack or crack some cryptography, you can go do it online, and they'll start off easy, and you can adjust your difficulty level. It's pretty fun actually if you're into that kind of thing. Very few of us are.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I ain't got time for that.
Brit's like, no, I'm not into that.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is when
Give me access. That's all I need.
before I knew what the topic of this was going to be, I had watched a video on YouTube, as most of us do. Edward Snowden just went on the Joe Rogan podcast. And
Right.
those of you
Yeah.
that watch this podcast know that we are fans of the Joe Rogan experience. And I'm also a fan of
experience.
so it's interesting that tied in, like, it wasn't even a day difference that I found out the topic to this program and watched that YouTube video. I first just watched the snippet on cell phones on how they were tracking you and all that. And then I went back. I was like, no, I got to watch this whole thing, which is really interesting. I encourage you to watch it. It's like 2 hours and 40 minutes. So it's a time commitment to watch it. But there are a lot of really good nuggets in there about things. So, and we're going to be bringing those up here in just a little bit ago.
Can I just
Or
say
just a
right
little
now,
bit.
Brian, like, I don't want to name names, but when I went to college, there was a professor that definitely said the same thing Snowden said. And so, like, this information wasn't new when he revealed it. I think
And college for you was what, late 90s, early 2000s?
it was 2000 to 2005, basically.
Yeah.
And so, basically, what I'm saying is like, I was in college when 9/11 happened.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened,
I remember the class I was in, and they
Me
wheeled
too.
in a TV.
Me too, man. Me too.
So it's like I remember our cybersecurity professor coming out and just saying like, "Hey, by the way," and like let me just say, I haven't thought about how much of this should be said yet, but like basically, the things he told us at that point in time, like later on when Snowden came out and they acted like that was a big revelation, I was like, to me, this
we
is
all know that stuff.
common knowledge, and maybe something I believe is that the media decides, like, we're going to just now decide this is something the public should care about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it might be something that was known forever, but they'd blow it up in a way to
Well,
where...
and here's where I'm thinking about things. It's becoming more of an issue because of the younger generation getting cell phones and having these apps, and then having these apps literally steal data from them. They had that face app, the Russian one,
age progression.
Oh man.
The age progression one.
face app. And essentially, it was this whole, like, you can take a picture of yourself and then you can make yourself look older, which, neat. But essentially, it was allowing Russia to get on your phone and take all of your pictures, because you could allow them to go into your media files. But now they have all of your guys' pictures.
And with facial recognition programs that are super,
Bingo.
super...
You know?
So here's the deal, right? That was, man. You guys are gonna
So-
have to
so- so
you're
the-
gonna have to shut me up if you don't want me to go off
The
on.
thing is, the privacy, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, so here's the deal.
there's
Brett.
more kids losing their privacy.
Well, here's
now.
the deal, Britt. That app was like the 6th of those apps that
Oh, yeah.
did that, and because it had enough.
But that was the
it had-
cooler one.
It had enough users, and like B0des just said, someone in the media decided one day that today's the day that we're gonna make America care about this. But that was not new. That's not new.
No.
I hate to tell you this, but Russia and China know more about your face than you do. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
it's not
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But it's real life.
Well, Brian was saying in China.
Yeah,
There's-
I was doing some research on for like 2020, and what the number of CCTVs were and what the worst places. China is number one.
Yeah, but by like 40-fold, right?
Probably more than
Yeah.
because it's one camera for every 2 people.
Right.
The next one
So there's a
down,
billion people, so there's
half a billion.
The next one's London, right?
London, and that was that's like 68 cameras for every 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And then the next one is the United States.
It's
and
New York City.
Atlanta, actually. 15.8
Okay, yeah.
per 1,000. New York didn't make the top 10. Atlanta and Chicago.
But after the race today, they did.
Yeah. And that was a pretty recent article because they were talking about by the end of 2020.
Well, so here's the deal. That data is all old because when they're talking about how many facial recognition cameras are there in the city.
This was, CCTVs. Yeah.
CCTVs, but those CCTVs have to be capable. So the technology has to be capable of the facial recognition.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get down to the weeds on it from a technical perspective, but the camera has to do the work. You can't take the video and then do the thing later. You can, but it's not very
I was
effective.
going to say, they don't have programs that do that.
They can, but here's the deal. You can't add pixels. So the whole
so it has
CSI,
to be a pretty...
the CSI thing of like zoom and enhance is not a thing. You can't add you can't add pixels where there weren't pixels.
Machine
right?
learning,
that
Just
doesn't
predict
work.
the pixels.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Well, hang on a second. So I just saw this new thing for the Nintendo 64. And you can clip it on, and then you can plug your HDMI into it, and it's adding pixels to where there's not pixels. Or maybe they're rounding the pixels. It was the weirdest thing.
Same up converters.
Yeah, but
it's an up conversion.
faces is a whole different thing than like a
Yeah,
game.
true that.
So it's very
I'm like,
different.
what are you doing here?
It's very different from taking like a 480p
make it a
video
1080.
to make it 1080 to make it 4K, right? It doesn't scale.
No.
You can do it to some small degree, particularly with like a Blu-ray that has static data on it, but this is live feed data that's happening. And so, yes, I can record it and do things, but sorry.
So what we're saying is on CSI, when they zoom in, and they keep zooming in.
Yeah, that's not a thing. That's not a thing.
Especially if they were doing it in like the 90s. Like, they did not have cameras.
Especially, anyway, now I don't know where I was going with that, but
Sorry.
no, you can't zoom and enhance. That's not a thing. But Brian's data of the studies of the research that he's referring to is talking about how many cameras are there per person, right?
They're just talking CCTVs, and there's other things in there. There's
whether it's facial recognition or not. They're not counting the cameras in every single human's pocket.
or dash cams,
Right, or dash cams, or any of the ones that they don't have accounted for, which are probably more than they have accounted for. Right? There are cameras everywhere you go.
Well, and then nowadays with everything being connected to the internet, cameras are widely not locked down as good as you would want. There's a story out of let's see here, Pennsylvania.
I'll wait for the rest of that.
Yeah, no, we're all ready.
Yeah.
So
We're empty.
why don't we just share one can per two? That'll work.
Good call.
Yeah. So in Lower Marion School District in Pennsylvania, this is all the way back in 2009. Apparently, they issued computers to all of their students. Amazing, right? Like, hey, 2009, you're getting a laptop. Way cool. What was on the bad side of that is that there was a lawsuit filed 1 year later. And the lawsuit was because school officials were using the camera on the laptops to spy on their home life and their studies. And it's just all like, wow, and it's crazy that they were doing that back in 2009, hacking into these kids' computers and watching their camera. Kind of reminds me of the movie
10 years ago.
Kind of reminds me of the movie Antitrust.
So
do you remember that?
Yeah, with what Ryan Felipe.
Yeah, Ryan Felipe.
So hold up. No. I take issue with the word hacking for reasons.
No, they didn't hack.
Wait,
Right.
Can we?
They didn't hack at all.
They didn't hack at all.
Can we pause for just a second for
We
the
can.
new beer?
But
Yeah,
I'm gonna fight your brother here in a second.
Perfect. Before we do
They
that,
issued computers,
Before we do that, let's have a beer.
but they also didn't tell the students that. Gotcha.
So, Britt, you had mentioned everything is connected to the internet right now. So I
Right.
went with Cloud Jumper
Bingo, the cloud.
because the cloud, So this is by a local company. Pint
What
9.
is the cloud?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Someone else's computer.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is by
A
Pint
hard
9.
drive in space.
Pint 9.
No, not.
Pint 9. You don't hear a lot about Pint 9 Brewing Company, mainly because they are literally right next door to Cross Strain, and Cross Strain gets a lot of awards and all that. Pint 9 are a good bunch of people out there. You should go visit them. They have some great, fantastic beers. Cafe Olay, great coffee beer.
And just in the past couple months, they've actually started distribute
or Oso Cafe.
have a
I'm sorry,
distribution going on.
Yeah, Oso Cafe, not Cafe Ole.
So my brother came over and he's all like, "Did you know they have cans now and they're all over the place?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're at the gas station right down the street."
Yeah.
So like, about 2 months ago, I think they started actually distributing.
Yeah.
in Omaha, which
So-
is great.
Right
Yeah.
on. Right on.
It's good. It's low alcohol content, 5.2%. It's a pale ale, but it's a cloudy, little hazy,
Yeah.
golden.
Sure. To cameras.
Shout out, shout out Pine Nine.
Did you get that one, Britt?
I did get that one.
Well done.
Oh, this one's a little crisper. It's got to me, it's got a lemony flavor. The other one was a little darker, more mature flavor. This is kind of a citrusy lemon kind of flavor
It's
to
refreshing. Yeah, I
it.
like
Yeah,
it.
refreshing. Yeah. It's a session. I mean, it's a session beer, 5.2%.
Sure.
What does that mean, session beer? I'm a
You
beer newbie in a lot of ways.
Session
so-
beers. So that's kind of like one of those things that we learned that brewers, they just don't like that term. But all it means is you can drink many beers in a session because it's a low alcohol content
Okay.
beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a Bud Light. A Bud Light is a session
That's
beer.
definitely a session beer.
Let's not. Can we not?
Shout
Well,
out Bud Light.
If you want to hydrate and drink,
Yeah.
by all means.
I mean, typically on the show we're drinking IPAs and stuff because I mean the IPAs have a lot more flavor than a lot of the other beers. One of my favorites though is I believe it's Founders. It's all day IPA.
Uh-oh. Founders is getting in some trouble, though, right now.
They are kind of getting in trouble and getting pulled off. Did you not hear about this?
No, I'm so
Yeah.
curious now.
Yeah,
What
diversity problems, and they just got like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Diversity problem.
They were having problems with employees and argument. You look it up, check it out.
All right.
Yeah,
So-
a lot of people. Are
Great
posting-
beer. Unfortunately, they're
Yeah,
doing the wrong thing. I
Get
guess.
it together, founders.
Yeah.
Yeah, come
and
on.
that kind of ties
We
into the
rely on-
privacy. They can no longer keep this contained.
right?
All ties back in.
That's totally valid.
How
by
big
the
of
way.
a company are they?
Founders.
Oh, huge.
Yeah,
they're all over the United
That's
States.
not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no good.
Yep. So anyway, okay, back onto the topic. I want to hear this fight between. So this is a celebrity death match, right
So
here.
no, they gave cameras or they gave computers to the kids,
Right.
but they
Right.
didn't tell the kids that hey, we're going to jump on your computer and look at you.
Right, that they had
You know,
management
they didn't say
software.
that.
So they had VNC, which is Google it. It's in a 3-letter acronym. VNC is just it's a remote management software. IT departments all over the country use VNC. It's how
I got a VNC on my computer at work.
when you call the help desk and say my mouse is sticky and they say okay, well
Hang on a second. Get on your computer.
hang on a second. I'm gonna take over your computer. Don't touch your mouse because I'm gonna move it. Right. That's VNC is when they take over. It's one of the programs that can do that.
Virtual network
Connectivity.
controller. Yeah.
Controller, something like that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the ways to do it. I have a really hilarious joke on that, but I won't go there right now.
Well, actually, that in that one way, like if you want to get into somebody's computer in a large corporation, you can just call as IT and try to take control of their computer.
Stop it, Brian.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no, I've done that before. So they had VNC on these laptops that they issued to their students. Well, what happened was one of the vice principals, who was some creepy old man.
So you heard the story.
Oh yeah, I'm well
Okay,
aware.
all right.
Hey, dude,
I know.
This is my world.
Oh, it was 2009. I mean, this was quite a few years ago, 10 years ago.
I've been at this for more
All right.
than 10 years.
Fair enough.
So this creepy old
He's
man.
got an honorary PhD already.
He finds out, he discovers that the girls in this high school, particularly while they're in class, they use the webcam that's built into the laptop
To do their makeup.
to do their makeup and hair, right? Because they can turn on the camera app and it's effectively a mirror.
Instant mirror, yeah.
And so he begins remoting their computers during the day to watch the girls do their hair and makeup. Well, turns out the girls take their laptops home at night too. And
Yeah.
so he could still remote their computers. And so obviously
You get in trouble that way.
things escalate quickly and a creepy old man does creepy old man things. And I believe he went to jail. I hope he went to jail.
Yeah.
That's easily verifiable way to go to jail.
Yeah, confirmed, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's clearly a privacy issue, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, nowadays,
Pedophile.
and what grade level was that? Do you remember?
It was
Offhand.
elementary school.
I was gonna say,
believe.
yeah, 'cause-
So I think it was probably 5th, 6th grade. I'm sure they didn't give kindergartner. Here, you get a laptop. You get a
Well,
laptop.
No, so to be fair, it was across the entire school district.
Wow.
And so any kid that was issued a laptop, including elementary school kids, because some were, like fifth graders.
Yeah. Well, and that's my daughter just got she's fifth grade, and she just got her iPad for the year.
Okay, we're going to talk later, Brian.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll sit down with that laptop.
We are. Yes.
So I will tell you this. When you see someone that you know or a coworker that is the crazy person who puts a sticker over their webcam,
I got one on this computer right here,
or over their microphone input on the side of their laptop, and you're like, really, man? Yes,
it's really.
They're right and you're wrong.
Well, hey, I'm reserving that for the end of the program on how do we solve this.
Okay.
So,
well, because
that's the tagline here. How do we solve the world's problems one day at a time?
I will tell you that there's a photo of Bill Gates from many years ago, many being, I don't know, single digits years ago, where Bill Gates is sitting at his desk at Microsoft, and he's got a sticker over his camera and tape over his microphone, and the caption on the photo says, "If Bill Gates covers his webcam, you probably should too."
For sure.
For sure, yeah. I do kind of want to go into the Wayback Machine here, and how did we get here? How did this get all started? And from all the research that I did on this, I could very easily point to September 11th, 2001.
Sure.
9/11.
Sure.
We were a scared nation, and the government being the government, they never waste a crisis. They pushed forward the Patriot Act.
Patriot Act, yeah.
Which I honestly didn't know that was an acronym.
Yeah.
And I had it.
What is it? It's the Privacy and Technology.
There it is.
Oh, man.
It is providing appropriate
None of
tools
those.
required to intercept and obstruct terrorism act.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
That's the same as the Patriot Act?
That is what the Patriot Act stands for. Patriot is an acronym for providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism act.
Okay, I figured they just called it Patriot Act to get people to vote for it.
They did.
They're not a Patriot.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
No, that actually was created by one of the interns.
Well thought out.
It was a 23-year-old congressional staffer. So
they made the word, then the acronym.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened there. And they went, "Oh, that's genius. Let's run with that." So I don't know how many people listen to this program remember that. I see Murmurs Amusing. He's on here. This is probably a topic that he's
all over.
But anyway, back in 2001, the internet was becoming a tool. I mean, people were hopping on it.
It was coming into its own.
Exactly.
American Online.
Yeah, but this
chat rooms.
AOL for the win.
Yeah,
This is a little bit past that point, I think.
It was.
I don't know. We were just now starting to get high speed internet by that point, I think, because
I had my first PS2.
Oh, nice.
This was Quake 3 era.
Quake 3. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
See,
Boom.
Let's put it in.
Yeah.
Consumable technologies. Quake 3,
Yeah.
PlayStation 2. I mean, things are coming around, man.
I was gonna say Halo.
Yeah,
because
Halo.
There you go.
Yeah,
on PS2.
No, on Xbox.
PC.
Xbox.
Yeah, Xbox. Yeah.
Come on, man. That's a Microsoft product.
I only play on PC, guys.
Well, you're one of those guys.
PC Master Race.
PC Master Race says
shout out.
Bodes. This guy's
man.
my spirit animal.
So after September 11th, I mean, not only did we bond together as a nation because there was a lot of fear going on at that point, and the government used that fear in order to pass legislation, aka the Patriot Act, which actually expires every 4 years, which I guess I didn't realize that. So it was re-upped. It expired in 2005, reinstated 2006, expired, reinstated in 2011, expired officially in 2015. And then now the new one, the USA Freedom Act, was enacted in 2015. And it's actually been renewed through 2019. So that's kind of where we are with the Patriot Act. It's just now rebranded, renamed as the USA Freedom Act.
Freedom to be spied on.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what is privacy? And I wrote the meaning of privacy down just so that everyone knows. Privacy is a state of being free from public attention. And the right to privacy means having control over your own personal information.
But we don't.
So that is privacy. Let's get that stated right there.
Oh,
but
man.
do we have that?
How much
No.
time do you have? Because
just the
I
hours.
teach a class on this. So
Yeah.
if you have a semester, let's sit down.
Can we do a semester in Cliff Notes tonight?
I'll give it a go.
All right. No, I think that we don't really have an understanding. Who reads the terms and conditions of apps? And
I actually did recently.
I mean,
Let me tell you. Okay,
you had a lot of time on
which
your
one?
hands.
For years he hasn't, but now
I'm a speed reader, so I know I'm
Of
a
which
speed
one?
reader.
What app though?
Let me tell you. So OnePlus, you guys know OnePlus 5T cell phone. There's different models, but basically it's the knockoff Android of like Samsung Galaxy stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get it at a very good price. But let me tell you, read your EULA, because not only do you agree for China to spy on you,
End user license agreement, EULA.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so when you use this cell phone, you agree that China can spy on you, and if anything comes up that's a legal problem, you agree to arbitrate it in a Chinese court, and the Chinese version of the law supersedes the American version, and you agree to that every time you hit OK.
Yeah, but you agree to arbitrate and not go to court. So arbitration is different than court, right? Arbitration means that you have a third-party mediator who will sit and listen to your argument. It doesn't mean that you go to court at all.
yeah.
Right.
It means that you have someone listen to you whine about it.
And you have to do that in China. And if you know anything about people in China,
I have
speaking,
no idea what they're saying.
well, but like speaking,
There's that.
Yeah, speaking American to them is actually kind of down. So,
Konnichiwa, I got that one.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's the wrong country. I think that's the
Yeah,
wrong
that's the
country.
wrong country.
Yeah, you're
I was
wrong.
even way off right there.
Good try, but also wrong.
Fail. Oh man. And
Avita son? I don't
No.
know. Way off.
Okay. All right.
It's all good.
All right. No, but you have to do that. You have to arbitrate in China.
So, on T's and C's, terms and conditions, when you turn on your iPhone, if you buy an iPhone for the very first time and turn it on, and it says, it comes up with the Apple logo while it's booting, and then it says hello. And then it says hello in different languages, and then you swipe right, and then it says, do a thing, do another thing. And then it comes to
terms and conditions.
terms and conditions, and you can click agree or you can click print. Those are your choices.
Yeah,
all right?
you can't disagree.
You can agree or you can print, right? And if you choose to print, because I chose to print, you get around 200 pages of terms and conditions. Okay? So let's just say that the layperson isn't going to read them. You need a team of legal analysts to
200
review.
pages.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
I wanna
very
use my-
greatly.
Yeah.
It's gone up to 300 and it's gone down to 80
Be like,
in different versions of
4
iOS.
days for me to read that? I don't know.
I was gonna say I want to use my phone now.
But
Exactly, not 4 days from now.
every time a new version of iOS comes out, you get a new
Terms,
T's and C's. And so it's gone up to like 279. It's gone down to like 79. Strangely, I know these numbers because I counted. But nonetheless, whether it's 80 or 280, you're not reading it.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, let me summarize it for you.
You still
You're
have to agree
giving
to
away
get-
all of your rights to privacy. That's what that means. And it's not good.
Well, and I was kind of from a information securities aspect. Even if you had a very secure phone, which is
Now, with it, hold on a second. It just popped in my head. Does that also apply to laptops? Because I have to upgrade my software and operating system on my Apple computer. I would assume that it'd be just like a cell phone.
Yep.
So they can spy on me either way.
it's got
Well-
it's got a camera. It's got
And let's
IP
not pick
address.
on Apple here, right? So
Yeah. No, I'm Android for phone and I'm Apple for compuder. So, I got both of the ends of the
and
spectrum.
let's not
there.
let Microsoft off the hook because
Yeah.
when you go to Windows 10, you're reducing many of your privacy
What about Windows
uh,
10S?
rights.
Wait, what's that? I thought 10 was the last one. There's an S.
There's an
Yeah,
S for
there's-
security and safety and
And
Well,
it's
okay,
stupidity, I guess.
You know what though? This is valid.
Yes,
Britt
very
raises
valid.
a good point. So 10S means
secure.
Safety, security.
safety and security,
Speed.
and speed. But at the same
Sucks.
time,
No.
if you
It's true.
are if you're watching cable television, which probably none of us are because we're virtually
In the
millennial-
21st century.
I got
millennials.
rid of my cable 2 years ago.
I stayed at a hotel for the last 4 some days, and I watched cable television. And Apple is running ads
For Apple Plus, yeah.
specifically advertising privacy as a feature. Right? They have a commercial about privacy.
But they don't have privacy.
I mean,
How private is it?
maybe
they have
they're-
a secure element. Come on.
They do have a secure. That's not wrong, and I don't want to bag on them. Good for them, right? Please, by all means, please advertise that you're you have privacy in mind. And then when you screw it up, you'll get called out for it, for advertising it and then screwing it up. But at least large organizations like Apple, Microsoft, Android, etc., Google are acknowledging that privacy is an issue. An issue enough that we're going to make a commercial about it. That's a step in the right direction. Whether they suck at it or not, you're going to make a commercial about it. You're going to.
If you've ever watched one of their keynotes, that's a major part of their keynote is the amount of privacy. Because and the thing I like about Apple is like we are not the product. For other things, we are the product because they sell our information and all.
Right.
that.
Yeah.
For Apple, it's a little
Facebook.
different. But that's not to say that our data is not being leaked everywhere on an Apple.
Correct.
Because of the apps that you choose to use. You know, Facebook being kind of one that's been in the news a lot.
So speaking of apps, though, and part of the reason why our privacy is getting taken away is because that these apps are free. And the reason why they're free is because they're gathering that information and they're selling to somebody. So they got to make money somehow. And so that's how they're making money is it's free to you. Like, let's just say Google charges you 10 cents per search you do. Anybody going to keep using Google? No, they're going to go find the next.
I actually would prefer that, but yes, I don't.
But if you were paying for it,
Not
it
everybody
would be a
is the
little
same
bit
way.
more private because you're paying for something. Give me this service, do that. Because it's free, they have to make money somehow, and they're doing it by giving that information to somebody that wants to do something with that information and making money off of that.
So the adage in the industry is that if you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
Exactly.
Right.
You're
And
not the customer. You're the product.
Yeah, I think that's true. And you're not wrong, right? If you're the product, then what is the product? Because the adage kind of is too short, right? What does that mean? Okay, I'm the product. What am I? Am I like part of the human trade? No, right? What does this mean?
Yeah, your data.
Your data. Okay, and everybody says, "Oh, they're selling your data," but no one knows what that means.
Yeah.
Right? No one really knows. The lay person does not know when the infosec industry says, "Oh, they're collecting your data." What does that mean?
So
no one knows what that means comprehensively, anyway.
So you know the app Uber. Everybody in their right mind has probably used Uber at least once here at this table. I recently found out, and I didn't realize this, but Uber it knows your location, so it can pick you up, right?
Well, it has to know your.
It has to know your location.
Sure.
It tracks your location and then finalizes that with you're here at your destination. Give this guy an X star rating, whatever.
Sure.
But then if you don't close out of the app, if you don't force quit that, it will just still track you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter even if you.
I would assume that most all apps are like that.
So-
that are a tracking kind of
Okay,
app.
so you're not wrong.
Because it's GPS and
You're not wrong.
they
but
want to find you again
you're-
because you need to be picked up.
You're not wrong, but let me add value here, okay?
But that's out of convenience. So like you're walking to the exit, it's like, hey, do you want that Uber to come pick you back up again? I
Right.
guess there's some convenience there.
Sort of. So you're not wrong. Uber's tracking your location. So's Angry Birds,
Yeah.
right? So in like 2014, it came out that Angry
What
Birds.
about Pokemon Go
Yeah,
or whatever?
They have to also.
My point is this. It is heavily dependent on how you configure your security and privacy settings on the device that you're
Oh, you
using.
can turn that off and on.
You can,
somewhat.
and then your experience is diminished, and that's on purpose. Do you want to get a pop-up that says it looks like you're at the Denver airport? Do you want us to order an Uber? Yeah, that's super handy.
Yeah.
But it
yes, I
also
do.
you can't do that though. You're not going to get that notification unless
you
they're
turn
tracking
off
your
your,
location
GPS.
at all times, right? And there's a difference between at all times when I'm using the app, or only while I'm
once.
using the app, or like at my discretion, right? When I approve it.
allow once.
Allow once, right? And so those are kind of your three settings, and those are for every app. And I encourage every single person who has a cell phone to go through their location services and look at
Turn them
every
off.
single app that is using your location and how it's using it.
There was a little side tangent on that. So I have two daughters, and they're younger, and they have a lot of apps that they use. And look at your children's apps that they use, because a lot of them require location services for apps that there's no
For
reason.
no reason. Angry Birds has no reason to know your location whatsoever.
But that's I don't want to give away too many apps that are doing that, but yes, look through those, because like there's no reason.
So I would add to that, because I know you and I know your children.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a device that your children are using in your home, just shut location services off completely. Why? That device is not going to leave your home, and if it does, it doesn't matter.
Well,
your kids aren't ordering an Uber.
The only reason I use it for is find my iPhone or find my iPad.
Yeah, whatever. I get it. Don't leave your iPad in an airplane seat back pocket.
But that almost happened to me. I exited the plane and I started to come back onto the plane. They're like, "Sir, you can't get back on the plane." I'm like, "I left my iPad." And they're like, they brought it to me. I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
I'm so
Thank
so
them.
sorry.
Right? No, this is the real thing, though. So your devices, first of all, they are listening to you. They do know where you are.
Smart devices.
All these smart devices, and
All you got to do is say, "I want to paint my house," and there will be 20 ads that are for paint. That's on discount right now.
Thank you.
So-
I was just gonna go there. Yeah, that's.
so do you want to hear my rant on this? I don't know if you guys are willing to let me just jump on a soapbox.
We're just
I'll go
hanging
off.
out, you know?
Can I say something?
You
before?
go first.
So what I think that is, yes, your devices are listening to you, but what that is the AI technology that they're using actually is working, because they have used that. There's the whole Target thing that we talked about, the Target ad. Where
Correct.
Well, your phone is spying on you. So if
but it's not that
your location services show you at Target, you are Amazon priming, a possible item for price checking. It's going to go, this guy wants to buy paint, and then they're going to start offering you discounts.
And that's the AI.
They will pressure you into buying until you actually buy.
Kind of. You go.
No, that was it. It's more of the AI technology than it is actually listening to the words that
So
you say.
here's my take on it, okay? Everybody says I was testing my phone to see if it was listening to me, and so I said some keywords, and then I saw ads, right?
And a giant elephant pops up with giant ears listening.
Because I just said the word African elephant. And
Exactly.
There it is, in the Apple background. And here's the deal. As far as I know, that's not a real thing. If I sit here right now and say...
Hey, Brian, let's do that I one.
If I sit here right now and I say Kitten Caboodle, we're not going to see ads for Kitten Caboodle. It doesn't work that way. First of all, you have to buy ad space on websites, and you can't do that instantaneously that I know of yet. So it doesn't work that way. The reality is that it's worse than what you think. The reality is far worse. I would be happier if I said Kitten Caboodle and my phone heard me say Kitten Caboodle and threw an ad up. But that's not reality. The reality is that because of what you guys are talking about, the machine learning and artificial intelligence, which there's a difference if you want to get into it, the machine learning and artificial intelligence is intelligent enough to know that based on your social media network and who you're involved with and who your influencers are that you view regularly and what they talk about and your age and where your kids go to school and what time you go to bed and where you work and what time you get to work and how productive you are at work. And
what time you wake up for work.
How many photos you've taken and what photos you've taken and how many photos of your kids you've taken and who you hang out with and where you hang out with them and at what times. It knows that at 10 p.m. on Sunday night, I was likely to say Kitten Caboodle, so it showed me an ad.
Yeah.
Because we were going to be talking about privacy. And that's way worse than having my phone just hear me say the words Kitten Caboodle, right? I'm going to see ads for Kitten Caboodle for a week now.
Well, and it's one of those that it can predict your behavior.
Right.
And that's where
Precisely.
that's where the way worse comes.
Precisely, yeah. It's kind of terrifying because, frankly, the technologies and the artificial intelligence and the machine learning know more about us than we do because they have more data to analyze than we do about ourselves. I don't know the market analysis of every 35 to 40-year-old male in the Midwest
Cambridge
that has
Analytics.
this,
Sorry.
Cambridge Analytica. You know that they were shut down and immediately opened back up with the same leadership and same employees under
Just
a different name.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Within a week.
That's a good segue to get onto our
Shout
next
out
beer.
Ken and Caboodle.
I don't really know what that is, but
So
If you start getting ads, you're gonna have to text me like, dude.
I
seriously.
will put it up on the Facebook page.
like, I don't even own cats.
I don't.
All right, you need to zoom out, Britt.
Oh, I need to zoom out. Good call. All right. So while we kind of had the camera pointed on Mike for a while, we all poured beers. And I was at Casual Pint earlier today. Shout out to Casual Pint for all your casual needs. Get your Casual Pint beer at Casual Pint, a real friendly neighborhood bar on 81st,
87th.
No, it's not 80. Yeah, you're right. It is the other way, isn't it?
Yes.
87th and Pacific Street, Countryside Village, small town in the city. Anyway, this is the Prairie Artisan Ales. They always do a phenomenal job on what they do. This is the Deja Vu's, and this is the farmhouse ale with hibiscus.
Is it? I was gonna say it smells like a sour, but the hibiscus would give it that same flavor profile or the smell.
So cheers. And let's this when you start pouring it, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, this is very red.
Is this the same flower that's in my backyard? I have a fantastic
that is interesting.
hibiscus plant in my backyard,
Tasty.
by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, it is kind of like a goze or a sour kind of flavor. There's a
Yeah,
little bit
just
of
a hint of sour, but
Yeah.
like it's not heavy, not
No.
a heavy sour at all.
No,
that is really good.
not quite Chardonnay. Chardonnay for
4.8
me.
4.8%
It's
on this
very
one.
wine-like.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, you want to throw that up
I
front
will.
there,
I
and
will indeed.
I'll zoom in on it. It's it kind of caught my eye because of the packaging, being as though we were doing kind of privacy and all that stuff. It's
The
got
all-seeing eye.
it's got an all-seeing eye on it.
Brilliant.
Exactly, brilliant. Oh man, you know what I need? We were talking earlier about getting new studio lighting. I need one studio light that I can just hit with a switch over here and be like, oh.
You need it to make that noise when you do that.
You need track lighting here, track lighting there, with spotlights on each of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could do that, or I could actually get some actual nice LED studio
That
lighting.
seems like a lot of work.
So no.
Can we talk about Meow Mix for a bit? That's my favorite cat
Kid
food.
Caboodle and Meow Mix. Meow, 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 meow.
I don't
meow,
actually
meow,
know
meow,
what
meow,
Kid
meow.
Caboodle is.
Oh, man. You haven't really been talking a whole lot. This is your topic, man.
Well-
You've just been listening. You've been soaking it all in there, Bodes.
One of my things is like, I definitely like pick my spots. You know, like I'm not the type of person to like.
No, it's all right. You talk when you
jump
need to
in,
talk.
know?
And
Yeah, like I'm one of those people. Like if you get in a loud room, I get quiet. You know,
it's all good.
Yeah.
You're paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. I like to observe.
Absorb the information.
What's the one in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? Seek first to understand, then be understood. Right. I'm a big believer in that. You know.
Right
so,
on.
which
Right on.
by the way, people with their criticism for me that clearly haven't actually listened, please keep it to yourself. You know, because it's like so many try to give you advice before they really tried to listen. I don't like that. You know. So.
So your music. So I kind of want to open another topic of privacy and all that stuff, and this is going to hit true to. Hey, I kind of hear it, but we're good. Emails. So getting emails from a outside company that you've never seen before. We're not so much me, but my two coworkers that sit on either side of me get stuff all the time that says, hey, your package is in transit, need to sign for this deal, and you know, it's like Deborah, you know, it's like, who is Deborah, you know, like, so how are they getting that information? And my only thought process is, you know, somehow you emailed somebody and your name is in a list somewhere because it's company email.
No.
I would assume that your private email, my private email jump box is
How many things
hilarious.
you sign up? You sign up for your, like apps and websites,
but
and
not
everything?
with your company email. You
Right.
know what I mean?
No.
You sign up with your private email, your personal email.
So here's how that happens, right? People ask me all the time.
It's phishing, right?
How'd they get my information, right?
Easily.
Certainly I've never been phished. Okay, fair. Let's pretend that you've never been phished. You have. But let's pretend like you haven't. How do they get your information? Do you have a credit score?
Ooh, yes.
You have one.
Yes, everybody's got a credit score.
Yeah,
Wow. Everybody that's got a credit card or has...
Good observation.
Yes.
Everyone who has a credit card or a debit card has a credit score. And when the Equifax breach happened in 2015...
is that where you think it's from?
Among other things. Do you have a LinkedIn page?
There you go.
Because they got breached. Have you ever in your life had a Yahoo account? For an email or for tracking stocks?
My wife has, but I have not.
Have you ever had a Yahoo account for fantasy football or baseball or basketball?
Shout out Yahoo groups.
Anyone who's ever had a Yahoo group
Yahoo's a whole nother subject. Yahoo's a whole nother being right now because they're collecting the data now.
My point is this. LinkedIn got breached in 2016. Yahoo got breached in 2014. Info USA, whose business is collecting and aggregating information about people, got breached.
Yeah.
Right? Equifax, whose business is creating credit scores on people based on transactions and debt and debt to income ratios, they got breached. All that data.
In here is Gallup has not gotten breached, so
yet. Or let me rephrase.
Or not talked about yet.
That we know of.
Exactly.
Right? They probably have, or that they know of.
Yeah.
To be fair, right? Most organizations that don't have mature cybersecurity won't even be aware that they've had a breach.
And
how would they know? They're not looking.
Full circle doctorate.
Yeah. No, the reality is that happen all the time. And whether you signed up for a thing or not, they're collecting that data anyway. If your work email exists somewhere, if it's on the company website or on your corporate directory and it got breached, or if someone stored that in a spreadsheet and then they got breached, or who knows, that data is out there.
Hey, did you know just yesterday I won a trip for two to the Bahamas for a week?
Congratulations. Can I go?
Okay. I just got hit up by a prince from Nigeria, and so
right, he's still looking for that money.
419eater.com.
Was he your?
Whoa! What's this?
Oh, that's good stuff. This guy knows. This guy knows.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know what this is.
Okay, so disclaimer. I'm gonna let B0des talk about it because I want to hear his perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna throw out a disclaimer first, which is
don't go there.
No, go there. Look, watch, spectate, be entertained. Don't
do it.
Don't
Bad
participate.
Okay. All right. So what is
Ready,
it?
B0des, go.
And I have a follow-up, by the way. But 419eater is just like
419
eater.
Eater.
E-A-T-E-R. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's just
So-
like they scam the scammers, right? So like one of the favorite things on there is like the Church of the Holy Fish and Bread. Like basically what they do is like
Okay, so hold on, man. So a 419 scam, it is is basically like the U.S. We'll call it FBI, whatever, 3-letter agency code for a Nigerian prince scam. Okay, it's 419. So 419 eater is I got 419 scammed, I got a 419 scam, and I chose
Flip the script.
I chose to respond to that email to that Nigerian prince, and then I wanted to flip the script.
Gotcha.
yeah, so you scam the scammer. So this is something I do, by the way, to like telemarketers. I do this to everybody. Like, if you try to sell me something, I will torture you. Because, by the way, I'll put you into the B0des funnel. Like, I'm getting the clothes
B0des
on you, and you
funnel.
don't even know. I'll end up making you indirectly promote me, and you didn't even realize you were doing that. So, like, yeah, like basically, 419 eater is like they get these Nigerian princes, like, you know, with these great checks for lots of money, and they're like, okay, yeah, you know what, I am interested, but here's the deal. The church has this weird thing like where we can only give out like $10 a week, but I can give you $10,000, but I have to like first, you know, I first need you to prove to me you're real, and they'll get like these these scammers to send them like $1 or $2, and then they'll make the scammers do things like take a picture with like a fish on their head and like things like that, because they'll say like, look, we want to send you $10,000, but the issue is we got to get you in the church first, and it's a church of holy fish and bread, so we need a picture of you with a fish on your head eating a piece of bread, and then once you do that, we can get you in there, so the whole idea of it is just waste these scammers' time and try to get them discouraged. I do this to telemarketers too, by the way. Like it feels
That's
so
great.
righteous and good, but I can't recommend it because those people are legitimately dangerous. So just
They
like
are.
Mike said, like definitely don't do it. This is not for like beginners. But yeah, scam the scammers if you.
If
So
you got time for
the
it.
other component of that, as I've learned, because I've also kind of preached the 419 eater page, but what I've learned from the FBI cybersecurity task force is that the folks who are getting shamed on 419eater.com are often victims. They're
low level henchmen.
well, they're literally at gunpoint, right? In the photos, even they're at gunpoint saying, "Hey, yeah, do this, follow through, or we're gonna, harm your family," right? And so even the folks that are being shamed or scammed or scam backed or whatever are often victims, and so not really working out the way that we want it to work out.
Yeah,
So
it's sad all around is what you learn when you dig deep enough.
correct, yeah.
But okay, I have one other point, which was, you were saying I was being quiet, right? Okay, well
Now you're
here's
loud. Now you're loud.
here's a
It's fine.
very provocative point that I feel like will spark discussion, which is on the flip side, on the opposite side of privacy and anonymousness, right? Anonymity. On the flip side of that is the screw it, I'm going to totally let go and just put myself out there as much as possible.
Right.
And let me tell you, just like side note type thing, I have found 2 really good opportunities by letting go and just letting the machine start dictating my life for me. Like I just gave in, I just merged with the AI, and like, let me tell you like 2 specific examples in my cases. So I don't know how much you guys know about the music industry, but it's full of a lot of BS, a lot of fake streams, a lot of fake plays, a lot of fake follows, a lot of fake, even musicians that you think are successful are in fact, they have like bot farms just listening to their stuff to give you this illusion of importance, because people tend to just go with the herd. They don't tend to actually try to form an opinion because they're insecure, because if they actually
This
form
guy has 1 million followers.
Exactly.
I should follow him.
So that's really rampant on Spotify, by the way. So where I'm going with this is I was interested in trying to get legitimate listeners. I don't want the bots. And so
Same with us. Drink Talk.
exactly.
Please subscribe. Please
You know
follow.
what? Whatever-
We need some listeners.
Whatever your guys' numbers are, they're legitimate listeners, which has infinite more value than a lot of the fake stuff you see out there. And so where I'm going with this is, I was looking for, on Spotify, it's all about playlists, getting added to playlists. Well, a lot of these playlists only have bots that listen to you. That has no value to me. That might be good for my ego. It might be good for me, like, trying to pick up chicks or something. But as far as, like, actually getting listeners, it has no value. So thank you to the Instagram algorithms, because ultimately they recommended me an actual playlist placement service that got me legitimate listens. Right. And so with human ears on the other end, not bots. And
Crazy.
another thing that the ads recommend.
Like a whole nother subcategory of the music industry is these bots that'll listen to your music.
Yes, and let me tell you, it's more rampant than you can ever imagine. I know people clearing big checks right now off of bot farms listening to their music. It's a different rabbit hole, but let me just say this. The other thing that Instagram bots have recommended me, and I'm about to do it, is a live video content creation course with like a legitimate dude doing it. And like I would have never found this stuff if it weren't for me letting go, letting the machine learning study me, and then they could specifically recommend to me things that I wouldn't have had the time to find. So, I'm just saying there is another side of the coin where the consumer ends up getting benefited by all this.
Correct.
True.
So I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna run with it. So the flip side of the privacy debate, right, is this. Okay, I'm angry that my Amazon Echo Dot Echo Show thing, my Amazon thing,
Smart device,
is listening to everything that I say. And just in this last year, we all discovered that Amazon engineers are in fact listening to those conversations, and they're being stored even when we don't say,
You mean that red light that says the microphone's not listening isn't actually? It's not actually
well,
not listening.
everyone know, like any logical human knows, how can it listen for the word Alexa if it's not on, right? Everyone knows it has to listen for that word. So
But I don't have anything to hide.
Well, wasn't there a
so I'm going there next, okay?
Yeah. Wasn't there a court case where there was some woman that got robbed, or there was a crime that happened at her home, and she subpoenaed the records from Amazon,
Correct,
from her Echo, and so they proved that it was listening and recording.
right? So we're gonna go there, but I want to go where he went first, which is the flip side of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
The flip side of the coin is what's the benefit, right?
Convenience.
Convenience, yes. So that's kind of a given of the argument, right?
Finding things you wouldn't have found.
Or even like the Uber case, where it's like, oh, I just landed at JFK. Yes, I do need an Uber. Thank you.
So convenience is one aspect of what we're willing to give up in exchange for. Convenience is one thing that we're willing to bargain for.
Mm-hmm.
But what about this? What about the idea that, okay, Amazon devices, IoT devices, Internet of Things, for anyone that's not in the know of the acronyms.
They should be.
IoT devices. If those IoT devices of any brand are listening inside your home and they hear evidence of child abuse, should those those device manufacturers be responsible for reporting?
It's kind of like the professions, like the where you believe there's some privacy. If you talk to a psychiatrist or a doctor or whoever, there's the doctor-patient.
Confidential.
But this ain't a doctor, dude.
Right. But
This is an Alexa in your house, right?
Yeah,
You're asking for recipes. This is a totally different world.
I know, but still, that's it's along those same lines. Like,
So the question, the question that there is, I don't have the answer to it, by the way, and I'm just stating that there is a proposal here for there is value to be added in sacrificing our privacy that is for the benefit of society, right? And so we're getting real deep into some Orwellian 1984 stuff here, but you know how much
they're using as a manual now.
Yeah, reality. So the question is, how much should we be willing to sacrifice, and in exchange for what? And most people agree that convenience probably isn't the thing that is the bargaining token. But if it's child abuse, if it's public health, epidemics prevention, maybe, there are bigger topics than how convenient is it that it'll store my most recent order from Domino's. But that's convenience.
It'd be real easy to add that to page 222 on the terms and conditions to say that if we hear something of child abuse.
Correct.
So I want to backtrack to something that Ben actually mentioned: finding things that need to be not found. Essentially, kind of mixing the words up there, but remember the very first Droid phone by Motorola?
I remember the commercial Droid.
And then you could hold it and you could flip it up, and there was a keyboard.
Yeah,
it was dope. I thought it was the coolest phone. I had to have it.
I know that you liked it because you said it was dope.
It was dope.
That's how you know.
Exactly. It's super dope.
Now, let's talk the time frame. What's the time frame? Because this does matter, because this
it was like 2000, right? It was like 2000.
2009. So that's what I was looking up, was when
10 years ago.
2009. 10 years ago.
Gross.
I know. I wanted to be on point with when it was available, October 17th, 2009, and I probably got it in November.
I've had a smartphone since I could read.
Right, exactly. So anyway, I get this phone. It's amazing. I had no problems with it. Everybody's like, my phone sucks. I'm like, no, this is the best phone I've ever had in my entire life. I never had a drop call. I always had great data, and this is back when it was 3G, not 5G, what we got now,
Because you were the only person on the network. But,
right.
To be fair.
I had Verizon. I still have Verizon. I love them.
There's 3 other people.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so I had this phone for a long time, and I really didn't want to give it up. But then Galaxy started coming out with Samsung, and I got to switch over to the Galaxy stuff because it's amazingly awesome, and I haven't looked back since. But with that said, when I went to I wanted to hand the phone over to somebody that wanted the phone, and Chris, I hope you enjoyed that phone, because I remember the day that I give it to you, I took the phone and I made sure I was deleting everything on it. I was going through every application, taking it off the phone, formatting the phone, and all that stuff.
Didn't you take the chip?
Oh, of course. You take the SIM card out of it. Absolutely. Yeah. The SIM card stores a lot of information. A lot of people think that's not a chip that actually stores information. No, it stores all of your information.
Sure.
But I was on the phone, and I was going through all the pictures and deleting stuff, but I found these audio files, and I'm like, what's these audio files? And I click on one, and it's a conversation between Ryan and I that we had, and I'm like, why is Droid recording our conversation? Like,
yeah, that was 10 years ago, bro.
10 years ago, and there were these small snippets, and it wasn't like every phone conversation I had ever. It was just randomly certain people, and I'm like,
I believe,
is it the NSA like spying on these people, and they were like taking that
debug code? Is
I believe in 2009,
which is a random
Google, Android, and Apple iOS were both collecting video. Not video,
it was just audio.
Not video. Sorry, voice. They were both collecting voice data to contribute to voice recognition software, which they both use effectively today. By the way,
so weird that I found those files though.
By the
they
way,
were way deep in my phone.
By the way, both of those organizations use as bot reduction. So Google CAPTCHA as an example, right? The reason when you get a Google CAPTCHA that it's asking you to identify school buses, stoplights, and stop signs and crosswalks is because you are part of the machine that is teaching automatic cars how to drive, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's called machine learning.
Or
right?
how a computer can
This is a
recognize
bicycle.
picture. Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't get the handlebars in there. You lose.
Yeah. The thing is I don't want to go like super science here, but it's the same way that humans learn. If you show a 3-year-old 500 pictures of the letter A written in different scripts, fonts, colors, formats, whatever, at the end of it, they're going to tell you what a letter A looks like. And it's the same thing when you're doing machine learning with computers. You show it 500 million photos, and you have, the entire population of the United States identifying what a bicycle looks like. The computer will show you what a bicycle looks like at the end of that.
Yeah.
It's just a process of elimination, basically.
There's a stand-up comedian that I listen to, and I honestly can't remember which one it was right now because it's been so long. But he was talking about the whole CAPTCHA thing, and he's like, isn't it interesting that we spend like half of our time on the internet proving that we're not robots?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that we can train robots to identify all those things.
Mike, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
And I don't remember where I heard this. It might have been like an Alex Jones, Joe Rogan podcast or something.
Sure.
But I remember hearing that supposedly in San Francisco right now, they're testing AIs and they're trying to sandbox them and see can they escape to the internet. Like,
yeah. No, that's happening in a lot of different places. So, oh, man.
So, did you hear about the experiment where they had 2 AIs talking to each other and they actually created their own language?
Yeah, they did.
That's when they had to
They
pull the plug.
They
I don't
invented
think I heard that.
they created their own language.
kill it before it, like, yeah.
That's what they did. They pulled the plug.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's reality, and that's not just in San Francisco. That's in a lot of different places right now. So I'm gonna try to make this as brief as a nerd can. Okay. There's a lot of advanced technology that's happening right now. AI is one thing. Neural networks contributes to
And
AI.
AI means a few different. So there's like simple AI. And then there's
Right.
the AI that's like the Terminator. That's
So-
a completely different. The self-conscious.
Skynet.
There's machine
exactly.
learning.
Yeah.
There's deep learning. There's artificial intelligence.
Simple AI is like Alexa and Siri, and those are simple AIs.
Right. Yeah.
True AI
Those words have meanings, and those things are all different, and they all have different levels of meaning. But I will tell you that that's happening at a lot of different labs in the around the world right now, particularly because of quantum computing. And I'm not going to go down. That's a whole.
That's the rabbit hole I want to go down, though.
That's a whole different podcast. Okay.
Let's do that one next.
Quantum computing changes a lot of things, right? Quantum, it creates quantum encryption.
Moore's law doesn't take any effect on quantum computing.
Moore's law just changes and adapts to incorporate quantum computing. They add qubits at the same rate that they add bits.
What's a qubit?
Don't worry about it.
No, it's building the ark.
Remember
It's a different thing.
You guys remember Qbert?
Yeah.
That was a good game.
Can we pause for just a minute?
We can.
All right, let's pause before, because you're amping up, man. So I want to.
You know, this world is more worried about the plastic straw. Here I have a metal straw.
Boy, good for you.
Than they are the
Greta Thunberg would be proud.
Exactly. The turtles would be proud.
Oh. So this next one, we're kind of jumping on this because we're getting into government and Google and all the big wigs, and you know, the more you hear about it, you realize, well, yeah, that's just kind of the way they do things. So this is their mode of operation. So the beer that we chose
Modus
is
operandi,
and this is Modus Operandi from Ska Brewing Company, and it is from give me a second, Durango, Colorado.
Yeah.
Right so yeah, and this is another
independently handcrafted Durango.
Yep. I like how it has the kind of Blues Brother-esque.
Yeah, it's like Blues Brothers. Only this dude's got like a skull on his face, right? What's that mean?
Well, and I also see the racing stripes, so I'm wondering if they're into like NASCAR or something of that nature. Since they've got the red and white checkered flags.
So this does have the Independent Craft Brewery little icon, which if you are
they've been around for 10 years. It says
if you are a fan of beer, this is what the logo that you need to look for. That's an upside down beer bottle. That says Independent Craft.
And at the top it says walk, kite, recycle, hide, seek, plant, recycle, grow, shower, tube, cycle. Recycle, my fault.
Wow.
That was a lot of
a lot going on there.
Yeah.
H. I thought,
So I'm gonna take a step down off that soapbox because that's a whole.
Yeah,
we can go down a whole
quantum
couple
computing.
of
Yeah, I do want to do more research on that because that's a new topic, and it's actually there was some articles that just came out. Well, I mean, quantum computing has been going on for the last couple years. Or I would say at least 5. But there have been some new developments in it.
Very
last week or so.
Worth discussing.
Speaking of computing problems and all that stuff. I was recently, probably, I don't know, like a month or two ago, I was watching some programs on YouTube, go figure, and it was all about John Deere.
Yeah.
And
right to fix.
Yeah, right to fix. So these people had these machines, and then they wanted to make these machines better, and they were like, well, you actually don't own that machine.
We live in an agricultural
It's
state
like,
here.
wait a minute, am I renting this machine? Because I'm pretty sure I paid this off.
So that's a pretty common problem, actually. In agriculture, it's not common, but in IT,
in space,
in IT, that's the standard. You bought the hardware, but you don't own the software. You rent the software. Okay,
right.
It's a subscription model for the software.
Microsoft 360.
Yeah, Microsoft O365. Okay, you bought a Microsoft computer. Good for you. You want to use Microsoft
Word.
Office?
Yeah.
Then you pay annually for Microsoft O365.
The problem was with John Deere, though, is they just wanted to upgrade their system, and it's like they weren't even able to patch into their system.
They don't want to upgrade. Their hardware broke. Their widget that they bought is no longer cutting corn.
Yeah.
And all they want to do is be able to get in and fix it. Physically, hardware from a hardware level.
Plug a USB into a computer and download the software.
So here's what happens. I'm using my hands here. So if you've ever seen a combine, right? Like the combine is basically like the buzzers at your barber shop.
How many people
right?
watching have seen a comic? Like we live in Nebraska. We're an agricultural state. So
I saw 9 on my way home from Des Moines.
Yeah, of course you did. So, but the deal is. It's very much like the clippers that your barber uses, right?
Yep.
There's 2 layers,
scissors.
and one goes under the other. And if your machine stops where the cutter is underneath the header, right? And you want to work on it, and you just need it to come back halfway so that you can physically get to it, you need to turn the device back on. But if the device is shut down, then if the software says I will not boot back up, and you're not able to physically move it without logically turning on the software that runs it, then you can't fix the device. And
you can't fix the machine.
Right, you can't fix physically the machine. And these farmers, these agriculture folks just say, no, I don't need a computer science degree. I just need this physical
Machine
mechanical
to
thing
do what I want. Tell it to
move
do.
12 inches over.
Yeah.
They're turning to a lot of third-party apps to actually break the code.
No,
and
they're hacking.
That's what
Farmers
I'm saying.
are straight up learning to hack, right? They go on YouTube and they're like, how do I hack this John Deere software?
Yep.
And they hack it. And then they do. And they're successful at it because hacking, believe it or not, is not difficult.
But then it kind of null and voids your thing.
Yeah, so John Deere gets angry, and now there's a lawsuit, and then there's a class action lawsuit, and that's the story you're talking
A
about.
lot could be said for like the iPhones because now they're completely sealed and all that, and people don't work on them, batteries and all that, and now all the other phones are starting to follow suit the way Apple's
That was
doing
one of
it.
my favorite things about the first Droid was I was able to take off the back cover and pop out the battery, pop it back in, restart my phone, and be good to go.
And that's the whole thing with making sure your electronics are not actually.
You could physically turn the thing off.
Right, yeah, you could pull the battery out of it. Now you can't pull the battery out of a phone. Same with like your Alexa device or a smart device at home.
I turned my phone off. Yeah, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Did you?
You don't know that it's off.
So
your screen says it's off, but
so
it's
I would
not
say
off.
that quantum computing and right to fix are two completely standalone podcast episodes that we should totally do. But in the
I'll
meantime,
write that down.
let's hang on to the privacy thing.
Can we talk about the beer for a second?
We may.
All right. What did you try it?
I did.
What'd you think? So this is kind of a
hoppy
ambery golden color.
Quantum physics and what was the other one?
quantum computing.
Right to fix.
So I would,
right to fix.
if you're taking notes, I would write quantum computing / quantum encryption, which are two separate things, and then right to fix.
Yep.
Is a separate topic.
Ben, what do you think of this beer?
Perfect.
So, I love hoppy beers, and is it weird to say I love hoppy beers and spicy food?
No, that's good.
So back when I was a single man, my favorite date was to take a girl to Jim's Rib Haven.
Ooh, Jim
nice.
Rib Haven.
And
The old stomping grounds.
Yeah, and then get like an IPA or get a 40-ounce of malt liquor. You know, give her the full hood experience.
Duct tape it to your hand.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
Jim's Rib Haven has some amazing sandwiches, and their spice level on some of that barbecue is.
Oh yeah. So yeah, like for me, like I feel like the hoppy beer goes well with spicy food because it's like you got an intense food,
Full
get an intense
flavor.
beer.
Mm-hmm.
I like it though. I like the hops.
So you could get both in the same right. Brickway just took home a silver from the Great American Beer Festival over there in Colorado. They have a jalapeno pineapple beer. And I took one drink of that, and I go, I need some chips and salsa sitting in front of me. Because, I mean, it would have been perfect just having that.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. I've been hit or miss on some of the jalapeno beers, the spicy beers.
Yeah. I'd only have like two. I mean, I wouldn't go out and buy a 6-pack and be like, yeah, this is going to be my night. No.
I like
but having
food,
one or
yeah.
two, you're like, wow, this
The
is...
Jaipur, right?
Yeah.
You guys have done
Jaipur?
that, right?
Yeah, over 108th and Center there.
Yeah.
I didn't know they really had a brewery back in there until
Yep, they
recently.
got the
I used
fresh
to
cut
live.
jalapenos in there, you know?
Yeah, I used
whoa,
to live
whoa.
right there.
There's a brewery right down the street
Well,
from my house, and I don't know
it's
about
an
it.
Indian restaurant, Jaipur. Yeah,
Yes,
and
okay.
it's in Rockbrook Village, 108th
yeah.
and Center there. Yeah, they have a brewery in there.
Didn't even
Brewing
know.
the beer. Yeah.
Interesting.
And now you know. Knowing's half the battle. Yeah. Back to
Star in the
like
background.
the spicy beers. Like I like spicy food, but enough to let you know that it's there, not to overpower flavor. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way with beer. There's certain jalapeno beers that I've had where it's like all you get is spice, and I don't want that. I want like the heat element.
Yeah.
I want it to be there, but I don't want it to overpower anything else.
I was just at Cheesecake Factory. Got their Bang Bang chicken and shrimp today.
Bang bang.
Yeah, that was good. A little Indian food.
Bang Bang what?
Bang Bang
shrimp.
chicken and shrimp.
Okay, I've done the Bang Bang shrimp at like, what's
Bonefish?
that?
Bonefish. Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
really
God.
good.
Oh my God, that thing's an orgasm. you know?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they sponsoring you guys yet? 'Cause they,
No.
Bonefish. No.
Yeah, I want like a thing of Bang Bang shrimp right in the middle here. you know?
I also recently went to the Inner Rail, which is right next to HDR in Exarban, and they've got
Yeah,
like
same here.
9 different restaurants in there,
Yeah.
and one of them's an Indian food restaurant, and they have a lamb. It was the last thing on the menu, and I was like, let me have that lamb soup thing, and then they had some garlic bread stuff with it, with tomatoes on it. I'm like, oh,
It's
it
a
was
cool
so
spot.
good.
Have you had the so they got a pizza place in there, and the pizza
Yes,
place actually
Noel's Pizza.
they have a filet pizza.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you can't
Filet
order.
mignon.
What?
You can't order it by the slice. You actually have to order the whole pizza.
Yep.
I feel like a filet, you're supposed to enjoy the cut of meat by itself.
Mhm.
Put it in a pizza. What? You're confusing me, man.
No, but the cost, it's expensive for a pizza, but not for a fillet. So
Okay.
There's
Okay.
a what do you call it? Sushi restaurant right next to the movie theater there in Exarban, and I think it's called the Godzilla, and it's sushi. It's crab, but then they do a piece of filet mignon on top of it with onions on top of it,
like a Husker roll. Almost.
Maybe maybe it is a Husker roll. Maybe it's not
That's
the
from
Godzilla. But
Hero 88.
I'm just thinking
Yeah.
Godzilla
I ate
eats
there today,
everything.
by the way. Shout out Hero 88.
Oh, dude, we actually had him on the show.
Yeah. Well, one of the family.
One of the owners, yeah.
Well, he owns 5168 Brewing.
Oh, I thought he was part of
He is part of the family, but
part of the family that owns Hero 88.
I did the happy hour. I got that rainbow roll at $7.50. That's a heck of a deal.
It is a
Heck
good
of
deal. I like myself some sushi. But we can get back off of the food and back on the topic.
I feel like we were on his show when we went over there to Hero 88.
That's right. You were
I
on
mean,
that show with us.
honestly, yeah. Like
We-
I learned more about sake that night
That
than
was
I
so good.
ever knew that I wanted to know.
Well, he came to me and I don't know. It was like within a 2-week period, I ran into him 3 times. And he's like, I want to get on the show and I want to do sake. I'm like, yes.
I can't lay
sounds
off.
great.
I can't lay off the sake now since I was on that episode.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, give me
Charlie.
that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
give me the good stuff.
dude.
So, to take it back to privacy, I got thoughts, man.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
if you'll humor me,
we're hitting the
I
hour and a
will.
half mark here. So
Are
let's
we?
do- Yeah.
oh my
I
lantern!
can go all night.
I know.
thought-
We can.
You're going to
Yeah.
have to kick me out.
I thought we still had 20 minutes, but we're
We're at an hour and a half.
50
Dude,
minutes over.
No. Hour and a half. We're fine.
Okay.
Usually, we've said this before, when there's 2 people on a show, it's an hour. With 4 people, it's usually 2 hours. So, I mean,
yeah.
we're not even to that 2-hour marker yet.
So I would tell you, I've got some thoughts about what to add to the privacy conversation here, and that's to take it a little more in the corporate direction. What I mean by that is that security and privacy in the corporate world are very, very different things, and to the lay person, they are often overlapping, we'll call it, or there's a thought that one begets the other, that security creates privacy, right? And that's not wrong, but for example, the HIPAA omnibus rule, I'm going to define that in a second here, requires organizations to specifically name and identify a HIPAA security officer and a HIPAA privacy officer. And that's been true since 1996. Now, for small organizations, you're allowed to say that that's the same person with the same name. I can say that Britt is my HIPAA privacy officer and my HIPAA security officer. But as long as you're willing to defend that in a federal court of law as reasonable and appropriate. Now, if I go to some major hospital system and I'm like, hey, who's your privacy officer? Who's your HIPAA security officer? And they're like, oh, it's the same dude. Go try to defend that in a federal court of law, and they're going to be like, that's not reasonable or appropriate. You make billions of dollars. Like, you should have separate people for that.
Yeah.
What are the 2 distinctions? Can you say that again?
HIPAA security officer, HIPAA privacy officer. And they're different
Is this
roles.
like authorization and what's the other one? You always hear these 2 terms, authorization versus access maybe, or...
Yeah. Correct, right? So what you're talking about, you've done some learning about
Yes,
security before.
yes. I'm trying to get into the government. I'm trying to tap into their documents. and
Whoa,
hack
whoa,
them,
slow
you know?
down.
Oh, I didn't say that.
So there's identity, there's authorization, and there's access control. Okay, so identity is who you are, and your identity is more than what you think it is. Okay, so from a corporate perspective, identity is
Yeah, you're not just a number.
what's your first name, last name. Okay, that's in the layperson's world. That's your identity. In the layperson's world, outside the corporate environment, your identity is not first name, last name. It's first name, last name, social security number, driver's license number, employee ID, address, phone number. All of those things are
credit
metadata.
score, your social account, numbers.
Metadata elements of who you are, right? In the corporate environment, it's first name, last name, employee ID, desk phone number, mobile phone number, job title, your supervisor's job title, your division, your team name, your whatever, right? Your department. All those things are
How do I get a
components
hold of you?
Of who you are. So that's identity, right? Then there's access, and there's different forms of access control: mandatory access control, discretionary access control, role-based access control. I'm not going to define what those are, but there's mechanisms to determine what you get access to and why.
Yeah.
And then there's
because you know this, and because you're who you are,
right.
because you have this title, you get access
and
to
then
that.
And then there's authorization, which is a kind of a metadata a function of access control is authorization. Are you authorized to have access to the thing or not? Right, that's your authorization, right? And so then validation of your authorization is called authentication.
It sounds like a rhyme. It sounds like a freestyle right now.
Dude, it sounds like a freestyle
Can you
right
drop
now.
a beat? Can you drop a beat?
Validation
Okay.
of the authorization.
Is your
1:39, 1 hour 39 minutes into this program, we came up with the
Okay.
rap.
Yep.
So I'm going to
FYI.
repeat that one more time, right? So you have authorization. Someone who has more say or more power than you determined that you are authorized to have a thing, right? And then someone has to authenticate who you are and your identity
And give you the key.
to determine if your identity is authorized to access a thing. And the procedure of authenticating your identity is called authentication.
Well,
right?
and I like that Google's taking that two-part series. Like, I go to log on to a machine and go to Gmail and want to access my Gmail, and it's all like, well, wait a minute, and then it hits my phone up. It's like, is this you? And then you're like, boop, and you're like,
Well, that's two-factor.
two-factor.
That's two-factor authentication. So let me clear up two-factor authentication really quick, okay? Two-factor authentication is not technically called two-factor authentication. It's called multi-factor authentication. There are 3 factors. If you have 2 of them, then it's two-factor authentication. If you had 3, then it would be 3-factor authentication. But either way, it's called
Username, password,
False.
and then mobile.
So
Physical samples. Wouldn't that be the third factor?
So that is the misconception, right? Is that the factors are these things. And the 3 factors are thus: something you are, something you have, or something you know. Okay? So username and password is 1 factor. That's something you know.
What's the first school that you ever went to?
Yeah, is also something you know. That's not two-factor authentication. That is 1
that
factor.
You have your cell phone is number 2.
That's 1 factor twice in a row. Is one thing that you know. So if I'm able to hold a gun to your head and say, "Tell me the things that you know," then I have your 1 factor compromised.
Yeah.
Right? But if I've compromised your username and password by holding my cell phone over your shoulder while you logged in on your keypad and I recorded your keystrokes, now I've stolen your username and password. That's called shoulder surfing, just so everyone know. Everyone's in the
That's
know.
a thing, apparently.
That's a real thing.
Shoulder
ATMs.
surfing.
Today,
ATMs.
today
Take
I
a cell
learned.
phone, zoom in, got your ATM pin. Shoulder surfing, right? That's why cover your pin is a real thing. So I shoulder surf your username and password, and now I have 1 factor. But you log in, or I log in. I'm Billy the bad guy. I log in with your username and password, and then it sends a thing to your phone, your physical phone that you have that I don't have, right? And you say, "Nuh-uh, that ain't me."
Yeah.
I've not compromised the 2nd factor, right? The 3rd, so something you know, something you have, something you are would be biometrics: fingerprint, voice print, iris scan, something to that effect.
Face app.
Face app, yeah. Which is, so there's an argument there, which is a religious battle.
They're like,
among,
we don't store that longer than 48 hours.
Well, no, it's
really,
a-
because you could back up the backup.
No, it's a religious debate among infosec professional, among my folk. Is facial recognition truly something you are, or is it something you have? Because if it's your phone that's doing the facial recognition, then I have to have that phone to do the facial recognition because I hold it 6 inches from my face, right? A video surveillance camera that's 100 feet away isn't something that I have. It's a whole thing.
You heard about the new Google phone and the problems they're having with it right now with their fingerprint identification?
Oh, I mean, every phone has the problems with fingerprints.
So
but
if you have a cover on your phone, which most people buy their phone, get a cover installed on their phone because you want to protect it and you want to have a second layer of protection. Essentially, anyone could just grab your phone and just put their thumb where you normally put your thumb and just log onto the phone.
so
Because the secondary cover was duplicating the fingerprint already. Because
So-
it's on there from before.
So I'm gonna like,
It's like,
I'm gonna
what?
I'm gonna like hammer a wedge into this conversation and say that we've totally gone into security
Yes,
and
we have.
away from privacy.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Well,
What they're kind of one and the same. I mean, it
I'm
does.
glad he's keeping us on track.
They're
Yeah.
not though. Like one begets the other, right? Security protects privacy.
Correct. They're tied together.
They're tied together for sure, but privacy is different than security, right? So, as a security professional, I will tell you that in most medium and large size organizations, privacy is managed, handled, dealt with, named under the legal department. Privacy is a legal issue where security can either fall in its own department, completely separate, or fall under IT, which I highly do not recommend. Cybersecurity must be independent of IT. Most people think that they're one and the same thing, and they're not. It's kind of like your internal audit department and your finance department. Your internal audit can't be subordinate to finance. It's a conflict of interest. It's the same thing with cybersecurity and IT. Cybersecurity can't be subordinate to IT, or you have a conflict of interest.
sure.
They have diverging interests where IT wants things to work. If it was up to them, there would be no firewall. Firewalls get in the way. I want email to work all day, every day. But this cybersecurity jerk keeps telling me to block things, and
So
it makes
that
my
brings-
users mad.
That brings up a good conversation starter. Privacy. If I delete my cookies, are they deleted? Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So
I mean,
Define delete.
define
so
delete, define cookie.
let's just
But-
say I use Chrome. Let's just say I use Chrome and I go on there and it says delete your cookies to the beginning of time.
Yeah,
Are my cookies deleted?
they're deleted from that machine. Yeah. See what
Bingo.
I did there? See what I did
See
there?
what I did there?
So from a privacy perspective, I'm gonna grab
Because
my-
I mean, not that I care where Google sees me go. I don't care.
Yes, you do.
Well, yeah. I don't do bad things. I'm not getting on the Al Qaeda website and
Okay.
saying, "Hey, I'm a big fan of you guys."
So I'm gonna stop you there. So
Shout out Al Qaeda.
every time,
hashtag.
no,
No, don't say
It's a
that.
bad shout out. Bomb Al Qaeda.
My bad.
Not shout out. Every time
Hey, they got that guy though, so that's cool.
Every time a person says, "I don't do bad things and I don't have anything to hide," Satan's demons get their wings. Right?
Right.
It's the worst thing to say.
Because that's the second time I brought that up. I've got nothing to hide.
Yeah. Well, you're wrong. Right? Trust me, you do,
Oh, you
and I
do.
can explain that to you.
Well, I mean, let's just say for instance, people tend to go to one side of the story, but medical documents. I mean, you want that. You don't need your medical history floating around there for everyone to see.
Okay, but what if you're perfectly healthy?
What about?
Are you though?
Bert, have you ever seen that video? Why you should never talk to cops?
Yeah.
They bring that up, like even if you've never done anything wrong, like
You shouldn't say anything because then you're criminalizing yourself.
Well, so they
Am
tell
I
you.
free to go?
Am I free to go, officer?
Well, they tell you in your Miranda rights, anything you say
Can and will be used.
will be used against you and will not be used for you, right? Now, it's very explicit in the Miranda rights. They tell you anything you say will be used against you, but it will not be used for you. There is no justification for you to speak to law enforcement when you're like in that situation whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the same is true in privacy, right? I've got nothing to hide. I've done nothing wrong. You've already admitted to things just by opening your mouth, right? And I will tell you that it's a very, very big internet, and I promise you that you have more enemies than you have friends on that internet, right? And beyond that, I'm not gonna. I really want to avoid turning this into like a political thing, but every time a person says, "I'm a good person, I've done nothing wrong, and I have nothing to hide, therefore I'm not concerned about my privacy," you're
the problem.
You just eroded liberty and freedom,
Justice for all.
for the planet by saying that, right? You just gave away voluntarily your rights to privacy. And by doing that thing, you normalized the invasion of privacy by the government. Okay, great. We've got all these machines in our homes now listening. Well, generally speaking, those companies are made of mostly American citizens that value their rights, their privacy, their Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and they don't want to give up those things. But when a person says, "I've got nothing to hide, I'm not concerned about it," that makes the argument for
You do have something to hide.
big government. It makes the argument for big government easier for them to say, "No one, we're not infringing anything. See, everyone's okay with this."
Yeah.
But then when the day comes, right? This is that argument of, "I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
Up
I'm
until a
fine with
point.
it until they came after me." Right? I don't care. They're only going after the bad people. I don't care. They're only going after the South. I don't care. They're only going after these people.
They're in my backyard.
Oh shit, they're coming after me. Right? All of a sudden now you care. We can't inch by inch give away our rights to privacy. Before you know it, there won't be any.
Well, that's I did want to bring that up earlier, kind of when we were talking about cell phones and all that, the warrantless wiretapping that went on in 2005 that came out.
FISA.
Yeah, FISA. So anybody that, I'm not going to explain all the acronyms and all that, but if you want to do that it's getting warrants for all this. So initially they were looking at wiretapping people overseas, terrorist organizations, terrorist cells, and all that stuff, and then they stopped needing warrants for that, and then they're like, well, if we don't need warrants for that, then we can start looking at American citizens, and that's where that all went.
So the FISA court was the secret court that approved requests for warrants to surveil people.
Yes.
And
we all heard about that, or
sure.
yes,
Well, most people
of us.
did. Most people did.
Yeah.
But the statistic that's interesting is that over the course of, I don't know, 5 or more years, out of thousands and thousands of requests for warrants, they denied one. Ever.
If you want
So-
to look up, Stellar Wind was the code name for that project that they did.
So a lot of people want to put the Fourth Amendment up against what we're talking about here for privacy and all that stuff. And I just want people to know about the Fourth Amendment. It really doesn't have anything about privacy in the amendment. So those that want to hold that Fourth Amendment and say, no, I have privacy rights here. No, you don't, because it's more for persons and property than it is for actual privacy.
Yeah, it's for search and seizure, right?
Bingo.
I can't search you or take your things without your permission or
Discretion,
warrant, right?
Exactly.
Can I get actually political for a second and say if Ron Paul had won, we'd have a different America right now?
Yeah,
If
for
anybody
sure.
else would have won
If
besides Trump,
anyone
we'd have
else
it.
had won,
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Another thing to, I mean, we've been talking about the records. I did want to, when you were talking about your cell phone holding your conversations.
Yeah, the
Well,
recordings of my
yes.
conversations, which was the weirdest thing I ever found on my phone ever.
Yep. So something interesting is if you go and look up Hemisphere Project, and that was where they found the cell phone companies that were holding all records back to 2008, and then AT&T said, "Hold my beer. We'll give you all
my
our
beer.
yeah, we'll give you all our stuff back to 1987." Now it's before.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's
prior. That's prior to like
it's
having
prior cell phones.
That was it was metadata.
factory farm.
It was.
Like,
So metadata versus call data.
Yes.
Which is an important thing to distinguish here.
But they could say
who called who?
yeah,
Right.
and they could say
And
yeah,
at what time on what day?
yeah, but that went back to 1987. So
I've heard the metadata is good enough to predict pretty much anything.
oh,
You don't
that's
need the
correct.
data.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the data just makes it more noisy. Give me
So-
just the metadata.
So think about your your social media accounts, right? And who you network with. And if I follow Trump, right? But I don't love him. I just follow him because I want to see his ridiculous tweets or whatever. But I also follow Ron Paul, and I also follow Hillary. Then clearly I'm a politically involved person. But the algorithm can't tell necessarily what my political leanings are.
Because you're following them all.
Because I follow all the politicians.
Yeah.
But I have a geographic location which predisposes me to a condition of political leaning. I have family members which predispose me to a political leaning. I have a social network that I regularly communicate with.
We see you go to
and
church on
share
Sundays.
articles with
Yeah.
regularly that predisposes me to a political leaning. And so it's pretty easy to tell. And it's the same thing. Imagine if before the internet existed, right? Before any social media existed, if I had all your phone records, right? And I got a phone call from the voting pollsters of Ronald Reagan, and I hung up on him, but I got the phone call from his opponent, and I spent 10 minutes on the phone with them. And
It says something about your character.
I also have a geographic location. I have a social network of people that I communicate with regularly. I have, and I know their political leanings, and I aggregate that data. Boom, done. Right? The market research over.
So-
I know exactly who you are and what you do.
in Des Moines, I was doing the bodybuilding competition out there. I was in the same exact room.
You weren't actually in it, but
I like to say that I am, but this gut says something different.
Hey,
Um,
you were lifting that body.
I was lifting that body to put it in a chair to DJ the show.
The very
I
truest
was
thing.
in the same exact room Kamala Harris was in half an hour prior to her being in it. So, like, my geolocation
Yeah.
says that I like Kamala Harris because I was
of course.
there.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would tell you this. So going back to the I've got nothing to hide and I've done nothing wrong. Having done nothing wrong is not the concept of privacy that people need to care about. Right? Criminal justice is different than personal privacy. People think I don't have anything to hide and I'm not that concerned. And I said earlier, yes, you do. And that's because
You take pictures of your kids. You take videos of your kids, and it's on your phone.
Yeah.
And it's for you, and it's your choice if you want to put it online, put it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's your choice to do that. But these companies have access to your phone
yeah.
and to those photos, and they shouldn't have access to those.
Okay, Apple Health, right? I'm gonna come back to where I was headed, but I'm gonna go where you were headed just now. So Apple Health, right? Like, okay, I use Apple Health. It tracks my workouts for me. You know,
What's the other one? Fitbit
Okay, so Fitbit
knows your heart rate,
Fitbit,
and you can put that online.
So Fitbit feeds into Apple Health along with any other fitness app that exists on the Apple Store. They
By the
all
way, Google just
feed
bought
in.
Fitbit. Did you know that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
They all feed
have another
in
story
to
on
Apple
that,
Health,
too.
right? It'll tell
Write
you.
that down. Oh, wait, you don't
so
write things down.
and so listen. I'm no saint on this stuff, right? I subject myself to as much as anyone. I've got a smart scale that updates my weight on Apple Health every time I weigh in. I've got Fitbit that tracks my workouts for me and tells me my heart rate and how I'm doing.
you have a smart device in your home.
Yeah, I've got smart devices. I've got my stationary bike tracks like how well I do on my workouts, and all that stuff goes into Apple Health. And who's getting that? Probably tons of people. Yet here I sit because I've got nothing to hide. Right? That's the I've got nothing to hide mentality. But where it gets concerning for the lay person, for the non-criminal, for the middle-aged mom who's never done anything wrong in her life and got straight A's and
She's a
has
soccer mom.
has a good job and drives a minivan and does all the right things and all those things. What becomes uncomfortable is when you tell those people the data that you're thinking of in isolation is not hazardous to your privacy. But when you aggregate that data into a dossier, now you become concerned. And when I
target market you.
When I reduce the syllables on that conversation and I say, okay, fine, I know what your heart rate was. They go, I don't care if you know what my heart rate was. But if I say, I know where you were born, who your parents are, what your blood type is, how many kids you have, when you got married, where your kids go to school, what time you go to sleep, what diseases you have, what medications you take, what medications your kids take, what food you eat, what food you buy,
what
food you
watching.
throw away, what time you exercise, how that exercise goes for you, whether you're lazy or not, where you work, what time you get to work, what your commute is, what car you drive,
what music you're listening to,
how old your tires are.
Both.
When I put all the data together in one place, now it's not okay.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, you know my heart rate, I don't care. Yeah, I don't really care about your heart rate either. But in aggregate,
but you exercised at 7:30 in the morning.
Your heart rate with knowing everything that you ate for the last 10 years? Yeah, I do care because I'm your insurance company. And now we're not going to insure you anymore. Right? Now that stuff becomes really, really important.
So
right?
that leads me into the story that I was going to talk about here.
Insurance companies and my business.
Yep.
All right, okay.
All right. Right?
So you talk about aggregate data and seemingly innocuous data. And we were talking about Fitbit, how it was just bought by Google and all that. Being bought by Google doesn't have any bearing on the story. But Fitbit in general, lots of people carry Fitbit.
Speaking of Fitbit, shall we take a water break?
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Everybody's got waters.
Yeah. So, hydrate.
I
people.
appreciate that. I was about to get a hangover until that was announced.
And now
Exactly. And now you're going to drink water for a while.
Now we won't. So Fitbit is carried by a lot of people, and a lot of people include military personnel.
Yep.
And so there was a vulnerability that was exploited in Fitbit where somebody actually tracked location data from Fitbit, including that of soldiers that were overseas. And you could actually get troop movement overseas through Fitbit location data. Seemingly innocuous because, hey, well, a soldier wants to track his fitness. Not a big deal.
Because in isolation, it's innocuous.
Yeah.
But in aggregate,
they could do troop movement
it's a
overseas.
big deal.
Which is top secret data.
Yep.
So, and that is an actual real thing that actually
data
happened.
in aggregation is different than data in isolation, and it has more weight and it has more value.
So Dr. Dr. Kareen said, knowing that you're being watched or your privacy is being eroded affects how you react to things.
Well, it changes your behavior completely.
Completely. So, like, for layman's terms, when you're driving your car down the interstate,
Does it?
Yes.
I mean, we all
So
we
Brian,
all at some
Brian,
level know that we're
let
being
me put
watched.
this in layman's terms for you, Brian.
Sort of.
If you know you're being watched and you know you're being monitored, it will affect how you react to things. Let me put this in layman terms, Brian, for you right now.
I know what
No,
it
no,
means.
no.
I know what it means. You don't need to put it in layman terms.
A cop behind you driving on the interstate, you look in your rearview mirror and you go, you know, like
Some people-
but you didn't do anything wrong. You just get that fear of, was I speeding? Was I not? Was I half over the line?
Am I doing something wrong?
Am I
or not?
doing something wrong? You react differently.
Well, and the same thing is with the insurance companies, the car insurance companies now putting the monitoring device in your vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can get a great rate.
How hard you're braking
But
and
now
how fast you're speeding.
Now you know that you're being monitored, and now your behavior will change, which is exactly what they want, right?
Yeah.
Good and
Good behavior is rewarded.
Once again, like flip side of the coin,
You get cheaper
positive
insurance.
outcome.
Yeah.
Well, but also positive outcome, fewer accidents, fewer deaths.
Cheaper
This is not a
insurance.
bad thing necessarily, but yes,
They're collecting
you're
that data.
straight up being monitored.
Yeah.
You have no privacy anymore.
Well,
You hit that gas pedal twice as fast as normal.
that's not. I mean, the weird thing about that.
I got to Des Moines quicker than I came back from Des Moines. Let's just say
Well,
that.
Well, the thing is, the thing
I may have been speeding. May have been.
on this topic though. That
But
the
nobody's
thing,
monitoring
The
me
thing
doing
about that is those devices are not required, right? And even if they have them in your car, you can shut them off, right? They'll judge you for shutting it off, but you can choose not to.
Oh,
be
you can just
monitored.
unplug it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can choose not to be monitored. So, but this is another instance of where we're willing to sacrifice our privacy
Convenience.
for the sake of, yes, convenience, but there is an undoubtable positive outcome here, which is fewer traffic accidents, fewer traffic deaths, fewer...
Closer to self-driving cars.
Well, but this
If
is...
you have this thing in your car, it's monitoring your speed, it's monitoring where you're at.
Sure, but this is clearly a positive outcome here, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
so I put this thing in my car, and all of a sudden, everyone drives better. Well, that's
just to kind of fill Ben in
that's
where
not
we're
a bad thing.
fill
right?
Ben in where we're at. I said knowing that you're being watched or your privacy is being eroded affects the way you react to things. Kind of like how a cop's following you in the back, even though you're doing nothing wrong, you straighten up and you.
And I'm actually going
abide to.
And I'm
that.
actually going to argue that. I'm actually going to play devil's advocate and argue that.
Brian, I know
against
that.
it.
I'm doing nothing wrong on the road, but when a cop pulls up right behind me, I go, what did I do wrong?
Okay.
Like, did I not hit the signal when I changed lanes?
Yep.
Does he think I'm drunk? No. You check yourself.
Okay.
Daddy's home.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I will say you are correct. Now,
You check yourself.
Now
you act differently.
Here is a different simulation to that, okay? Imagine a cop follows you every route that you take every single day, all the time. Do you change your behavior, or do you get used to the cop behind you?
You get used to it. Yeah, I mean, because
So that's
that's
where,
Bob. What's up, Bob?
that's where that's where I'm going with this. Is like we know
You
that
got your coffee and donut. You're good.
we know our phones are tracking us. We're not going to
Yeah.
modify our behavior because they're tracking us all the freaking time.
That's my joke.
So we just get used to it.
So that's my joke over the last 2 years is, hey, Daryl, right? Daryl's my NSA guy who tracks
What
my
a
phone.
great movie, by the
I'm
way.
like, hey,
Daryl is amazing.
Daryl, hey, bro, I'm trying to Google this. I can't find it. Will you help me out?
Do you
just send it to my phone, would you please?
Do you remember
If
what
you're-
the
I know you're
acronym was?
listening. Just help me out.
Do you remember what the acronym was?
Daryl, data.
Analyzing robotic
Yep.
youth life form.
Oh, Daryl, what a great movie that
Yeah.
was. Where he steals the stealth bomber.
No,
Or
SR-71 Blackbird.
The Blackbird, yeah, whatever. And
That's it,
he's like flying home, makes a phone call real quick. I was like, why not?
Yeah, but that was my point of, does it really change your behavior? I mean, yes, for that instance where the cop follows you, that 1% of the time you're like, oh, I should at least check the speed. Okay, yeah, I'm doing fine. Oh, or at least two hands,
Yeah,
someone
10 and
touching the
2.
wheel. Not even 10 and 2, but at least do I have two hands on the wheel? I don't think they're really checking that. Yeah, my seatbelt's clicked. Okay,
Checking to
great.
make sure that you're not on your cell phone.
But if that happened every single time you went out of the house and you drove somewhere, you get complacent. You'd be like, oh yeah, that's the cop following me again.
But that's also a positive
Affects
outcome, right?
affects
That's-
how you react to things.
But that's a positive outcome. So that's my argument of like, hey, there's which B0des said earlier, there's potentially a positive outcome of this, right? There's a flip side of the coin.
Initially, but I think you just get used to it.
If everyone drives better, that's not a bad thing, right? Like,
But I think the general. How many people out there in the audience believe that their phone is not tracking them? Everybody knows that their phone is tracking
So
them.
Right, yeah.
here's why I got into the positive outcome. So
16, 17, 18-year-olds, I don't think they know.
yeah, fair enough.
That's bad parenting.
Have you guys heard the term chapel perilous? You ever heard that term? What it means is like basically there's one of my favorite philosophers, his name is Robert Anton Wilson, and basically he was what was called a generalized agnostic, meaning he wasn't just agnostic about the existence of God, he was agnostic about about everything. Like he didn't believe in this glass of beer in front of him. Like he didn't believe in anything.
not
you believe
there.
it's a simulation.
It's very Neo. It's very Neo from
Yeah.
Matrix.
Yeah.
So he kept it. His whole thing was like keep an open mind. You don't really know anything. So where I'm going with this is, at once upon a time in my life, I got very deep into conspiracy theories,
Fair enough.
and so did he. He was a conspiracy theory
They're fun.
We
researcher.
kind of started our programming that way.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
So the thing that happens if you go deep enough, and I don't recommend this, if you
Jump down
go
the rabbit hole.
if you go deep enough, you start to actually. Another theory he put forward was if you study a conspiracy far enough, you actually become part of the conspiracy. Because once you start being able to get to the point where you can name names and like locations and dates, like now you're implicated in it. Because now if they start whacking people, like maybe they'll come along and whack you too, right? So
You know too much.
exactly. So where I'm going with this is, and this is how I found my freedom and my happiness again, is I had gone so far down these rabbit holes that I kind of popped out the other side because his whole theory was
Loose change.
whatever. No comment. All I'm trying to say is his thing was you either become a schizophrenic, like, oh my God, they're watching me, or you become what he called a general agnostic, meaning you're just open to whatever, and you're like kind of a cool cat, like whatever, you know. And where I'm going with this is at some point, once you realize like they're watching you, you know, and like if there is a them, and you've like kind of
there is a them,
and
they are watching you.
And if you've kind of pissed them off, you know what I mean, because you started looking at what they did bad, then where I'm going with this is like you do get used to the notion of the cop behind you all the time.
We have a good friend of ours. I'm a name him nameless, but he posts some very controversial stuff on Facebook, and ever since they've been trolling him and monitoring him, and like if he acts out of line and he puts something out there, they just deactivate his account for a day or two. So he's very closely monitored and watched because now he's on their crap list. So you know.
So I have a favorite like cliche that I throw around, which is just because you think they're out to get you doesn't mean you're wrong.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, maybe they are.
Maybe they are out to get you.
I mean, if you feel like they're out to get you,
It's funny that
there's a higher likelihood that they are.
We think the
Last beer, is that what we're doing here?
is this are we doing last call?
Oh yeah. Good call.
Who wants what?
Come on, Brett.
Do you have
Control
a
your mic.
No, Brian, let's do the one I have left.
Well,
There's only one I have left.
the
pink one.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Didn't do that one.
Well, let's put it out there. Do you want to do mystery beer, the next one, or do you want to do one that we've done before? Because we have
You're
plenty.
listen. You're asking two guys who don't run this podcast.
Just
you-
get the
The
I was gonna provide the illusion of a choice.
the Brian and Brits,
mystery.
Yeah.
the Brits and Bryans and Bryans and Brits of this show. Are
I
in
found
charge
this.
here.
I found this beer a while back.
the Bodes and Mikes of the world are just
one
experiencing.
for each, and we'll share.
We're just generalist agnostics.
So
Yeah, generalized agnostic. Yeah, that's good. You kind of like, and all I'm saying is like you get used to the cop kind of following you.
Dude,
type
I love
thing.
it.
That's where I was going.
And
with
you
that.
get comfy with it, and
love-
you know what? It's okay. Shout out to the Illuminati. You know,
I
I'm
like
good with
that
them.
a lot, honestly. That changes so much for me. That goes a long way in my world.
Yeah, and because like, who's to say necessarily like if they were good or bad, anyways? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, who knows? You know.
Well, that kind of rolls back to the Snowden thing, right? And
That was a great video. You should go look at that video.
well, so the deal is like,
well, also Snowden talked about this whole privacy in the digital age 3 years ago.
well,
So if you type in privacy in the digital age in your search bar on YouTube, Snowden talked about this 3 years ago. Not to mention he talked about this just a week ago. Yeah.
But the thing about Snowden is, he as a human is so polarizing, right? Ask 50 people. and
He's
you-
outside the cloud.
Well, certainly,
Kind of.
That guy. Okay, so from a privacy perspective, if you want your privacy, he's the guy to ask.
Yeah.
He'll tell you how to go. And I will tell you that he two things. One, he's right, and two, it's gonna
He's
be,
right.
It's gonna be very, very difficult for you.
Yeah. Unless you move to another country and
unless you go to
extradite yourself.
unless you go to Russia and physically take apart your phone and rip out the microphones and cut the cables and do the things that he's done. You and I have it a little more difficult than him. But no, he's polarizing because he is universally hated by a large group of people in this country
Oh yeah.
as being evil and as being a what's it called when you're not a patriot? The other thing.
Hater.
Nope. Yeah, Haida is the right
Trying to
word.
think of it.
Yeah, we're all failing at the moment. But
He's not with America.
Brian, what do you call it when someone's not a patriot and they get kicked out?
The opposite of patriot.
Not an expatriate. No, not an expat. Like the worst thing.
Terrorist?
Benedict Arnold.
Nowadays, it's Benedict Arnold. Yeah, that's a good one.
What was Benedict Arnold?
Turncoat.
Bad guy.
Yeah. I mean that's the term I would use for
no.
him. But
Well,
It's not the
there's
proper
a
term.
word for that, Brian. What the hell do you call that guy?
Exile?
betrayer.
Target.
Whatever. A betrayer. Well, and so my point is just this: that Edward Snowden is very much polarizing. There are people that consider him a hero, and there are people that consider him a betrayer and evil, and that he should just be hung, right? And there are people that say that he has saved America. And, well, which one is it?
I think that he's opened some eyes, is what I think.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Everyone, I think both sides would agree with you on that.
Yeah. They open their eyes and they go, oh, this is not right. Well, that is what's happening.
Well,
so.
no, they say he did that the wrong way. He opened eyes, but he did that wrong. And treason or
traitor. Just
traitor, that's the word. There it is.
Thank you, Drew. He put that out there. So, yes, this is Britt, let's talk about this beer, and then let's get back to this.
Yeah. So, this is one of my favorite beers that I found actually over the summer at a Jazz on the Green concert. The brewery is called Hoof-Hearted Brewing Company. Yep. So like Hoof-Hearted Brewing Company. And this is called Karate in the Garage. But right on the front it said, "Did we just become best friends?"
You know that Hoof-Hearted was the name of a racehorse in Britain. And he raced next to another horse called Whale Oil Beef Hooked. And if you say that with a British accent, you say, "Whale oil beef hooked."
That's awesome. That is awesome. And we're not even going to.
You want to take that camp, that up front?
We're not going to edit that. That's awesome. Drew, I thank you for remaining on the podcast and providing information on that. Yes.
Thanks for the traitor word.
Yes, and Edward Snowden also has come out with a new book, which he goes into much more detail about his career from beginning to end. If you want,
cheers, gentlemen.
Oh yeah,
Cheers.
Yeah,
cheers. Clinky before you drinky.
Hoof-Hearted Brewing Company.
Whale oil.
This is the by far the haziest
and the smoothest.
Is it? Is it a milk?
It's a dipper.
8%.
Nice.
Oh,
That's
heavy.
nice.
It's a dipper.
Yep.
Smooth.
Not quite a double digit, but
did we just become friends?
Yeah.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
That's lovely.
It is by far one of the best beers I've had this year.
And there's a darling little
Cat.
Well, young tiger, lion, animal on the
Kitty.
There's a kitty and then two guys on mics in front of it.
Yeah, well,
there's the lineup right there.
So what I was saying was that Edward Snowden is bipolar, right? Well, he's polarizing among folks, right? Some people say hang him. Some people say he's a hero. And here's what I'm going to say. I don't want this to appear like, hey, I'm not, I don't want to be a side chooser or be polarizing. The reality is, I'm just not sure where I stand on that guy.
Just leave it there, bro.
Because I see both sides, right, and I understand both sides, and man, I'm not comfortable that I have enough information to make that call to say kill him or build a bronze statue of him.
He is very knowledgeable about a lot of subjects that
he is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So was Hitler, right? I lose because I said Hitler in an argument.
But
That
And
point
now
of
the
podcast.
show's being watched.
yeah. The difference is Hitler had evil intention and was very charismatic. I would say
Right.
Edward Snowden is not charismatic, and in fact, when you watch him, he stutters and
He
stammers,
sucks.
and
He sucks at public speaking.
But like you are so enthralled in his knowledge base.
He's
like,
very intelligent.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, he's very, very polarizing, and there are plenty of people that say kill him. There are plenty of people that say build a statue for him. I'm not exactly sure where I stand on it, but
Well, don't build a statue because it'll just get torn down a couple years later.
Well, yeah, fair enough.
to me, the only thing he's offering is just like truth and knowledge.
Yeah.
That's all he's offering, really.
Yeah, but then the other side of that,
He's not
Brian,
saying start a revolt. He's just saying
you know the other side of that, though, is that the truth and knowledge of the offer got people killed, right? And did it? I don't know. Maybe there's an argument for that. I don't know, and I'm not willing to go do the research, but I think that probably they're right.
Yep.
And so then what, right? What do you do with that guy?
So now let's go down how we're going to solve this problem because it's a big concern as I hope it would be a big concern for a lot of people in this world about their own privacy. One step I can tell you that you can take, and it's super easy, is
live off the grid.
Quit posting pictures of what you eat that day, because it tells everybody where you're at and what you've been eating and shows your diet plan, I guess.
No one cares.
Just okay. Exactly. So just be mindful of what you post, I guess. That'd be one big thing of just be. If you want to post your kids all day long, and that's fine, but I get it, and your family sees it.
No,
but again,
no.
So here's the deal.
That's why I said but, because I was getting there.
Well,
go ahead and finish it.
So posting your kids, though, is a different deal, right? If you post,
that's bringing them into an era of them not knowing what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, they didn't volunteer for that, right? So they're going to grow up in a world where their entire life has been posted by their parents,
our kids,
without their permission, right?
Or grandparents, or whoever.
Every
else.
photo of everything
you're online
ever
already, and you don't even know that you're online.
Particularly parents who are very social media active, right? Are posting things like, "Oh, my daughter was a complete bitch today, and I'm angry at her, and I'm mad, and we're gonna and she did this and she said that, and I am angry at my daughter." Well, okay, well, you just put that on the internet, and it's not going away ever.
Mm-hmm. She can look that up when she's 45.
It's all right. I've jotted all of that. You're the one that's cussing on this show.
It's fine.
You're fine. Is that my first one?
No, second one. It's all right.
Sorry.
He's got it.
Moving on.
Note to self: the rapper kept it clean. I want to say that the rapper kept it clean.
Note to self: the cybersecurity guy didn't, because it's not.
Let
possible.
it all out.
It's not going to happen.
It's fine. Moving on.
It's a passionate subject.
It is.
Oh,
It is very passionate.
It's a nightmare.
I'm ready to freestyle on the Disney Channel.
But
so
anyway,
Disney, if you hear me, I'm ready.
That's
I want to hear it now.
Yes.
Getting back to solving
after
this,
talk.
We're gonna monitor your posts and be vigilant. A lot of people use Facebook as a means for. In fact, when Brian and we went over to Sweden in 2000, and to keep up with our ancestors over there,
2001, like literally right before 2011,
exactly,
or 9/11, right before.
We created a website. Which, Dad, you need to update the website. We're a lot older now, and it hasn't been updated. You can there's a .com for our family that we can go to, essentially creating a Facebook page in itself for ancestors to go on to see pictures of us and all that stuff. Well, now Facebook's here, and we're friends on Facebook on that, and we can transfer photos. So I get the whole, you want to show your family off to other people that aren't, like, let's say you live in Omaha and your family's from Florida. People want to see that interaction and what you're doing with your kids. And I get that. But like you said, they're being put online without their knowledge, and that's a big security privacy factor already.
Yeah. All of our kids, Ben, I don't know if you
I'll have kids soon. I'm working on it, man. All right?
Sorry. So all of our, I didn't know, but anyway, all of our kids are going to grow up in an era where their literal entire lives are going to be on the internet. Yeah. They can go back to when they were born and be like, oh, there I am, and they can search that. Like, for us, like, we grew up in an era, all four of us grew up in an era where, like, we have to freaking find a baby album, or go to our parents and say, do you have any pictures of when I was young? Because, like, there's none that you can search.
Well, you find out mommy didn't care. Well, it's really sad.
So there's like 3 pictures.
So here's a point.
Not even once a year, really.
So here's a couple points on that. And so of course I have a soapbox to get up on this whole topic. But okay, yeah. So our generation has, generally speaking, posted all of our children online,
or our parents.
Not to mention, our parents.
Their
grandparents are posting photos of our children. Yeah, whatever. Or their teachers. Right? So,
that too. That's
so whether it's on the deep web, different than
deep
dark web,
dark web, and then what was the below that? That's you need a special router for, and
the onion router. Whatever.
Anyway,
we're not gonna. Whatever. That's a different thing. No, my point is, like, whether it's us and our generation or our parents posting our children, those kids are up online, and even if it's the school, my kid's kindergarten teacher or first grade teacher, there's photos of them up there. Mm-hmm. Even if I told everyone Don't put pictures of my kids up there. They're up there, dude. Like, there's no getting around it.
That's part of our. So, like, both of my kids go to a school where, like, class projects are to create a PowerPoint presentation, whether that includes photos of them or not.
Yeah, and put it up online. Sure.
That's part of the class curriculum.
So that's part of the deal, and that's difficult to work around, and that's the deal, is that a lot of this is difficult to work around, and you kind of have to do compensation, right, to just deal with it. But
so, how do we solve this?
Go full Amish.
That's my number one, is like, just live off grid. Don't have a cell phone. Don't have a Facebook profile. Don't use the internet. Like, literally, that's what you would have to do. The problem is you already have, so your stuff's already out there.
Okay, so all right, there's the notion that privacy's just lost and it's over, and this battle is over and done with, and it's lost, and you can Equifax breach happened and all your data's out there and there's just nothing you can do, so just throw in the towel and participate, right? And just say this is the time.
So
Are you bringing out your picture to actually put it on the internet?
No, exactly. So that's one thing. I was sitting in the bathroom, or not sitting, but I was doing my thing in the bathroom, and I look over and see a picture of myself when I was a kid. And that's one thing that the internet does not have on me.
Until now.
I didn't turn it towards the camera.
It's very different because that's in your home, right?
It's in my home.
If someone physically comes into your home, there's a predisposed degree of trust, right? And so
exactly. But
everything we do is a risk-based.
Facial recognition, getting back to that, my kid's been on the internet since he was born.
Sure. And so totally different topic.
Makes me want to go delete my Facebook account.
Totally different topic is rings
Just
of trust and degrees of trust, right? Like, everything ought to be a risk-based decision. And so, people in my profession, we tell everyone, don't use public internet. Don't use the internet at Starbucks. Don't use the internet at your hotel. Don't use the internet at an airport because it's not safe and whatever. Okay, if you want to get online and go to abcnews.com, use the public internet, right?
Yeah.
That's a risk-based decision. But if you're at like a shady Marriott,
Don't do your banking
at Black Hat conference in Las Vegas, probably don't use that to go to wellsfargo.com. That's a bad risk-based
Good
decision,
solution.
right? Like,
Good solution.
make better choices.
Don't withdraw your Bitcoin while you're there.
Yeah.
Coinbase.com, don't go to that.
Yeah. So, how do we solve this? The solution is the point that I want to make on the solution is, first and foremost, don't throw in the towel. Don't say it's already over. They already know everything about me. Equifax already happened. They've already got all my financial information. My social security number is not private. It's been breached 15 times. They already know my passwords. Don't do that. Don't throw in the towel. That's not over.
It's getting better. Is where I'm hoping the direction.
Privacy
is getting better.
Privacy is not lost. And
especially if you get your doctorate, it's going to even better, right?
There's laws coming up that are actually making it like your data is
like
your personal property.
So the European Union's General Data Protection Act, GDPR.
I had that written down.
Is a thing.
General Data Protection Regulation.
Yeah. And CCPA is a thing, and so California Consumer Protection Act. So CCPA is just a copy-paste of GDPR that they're now enforcing in California, which will eventually work its way off to the other 49 states, like they always do.
I was talking about California earlier and PG&E.
It doesn't matter. So
earlier today,
irrespective of the legislation and the laws, don't throw in the towel and say this doesn't matter, right? Don't throw in the towel and say I have nothing to hide.
Can I say, is it fair or safe to say that the head of the dragon knows what you're doing, but all those crappy middle managers, they may not know anything?
Correct. Correct. So the point
and the tail is where he no.
Well, the point is, the worst thing that the American public can do is just throw in the towel and say it's already lost, it's over, and that's not true.
Yeah,
they might know your finances, they might know your photos, they might know your overall general behaviors, but no, they don't know. They don't know what you did today.
Well,
and so
but hang on, they
choose.
do know what you did today because your GPS location is on, and you said this earlier. go through your GPS and turn your stuff off
So
if
that's
it's not
my
needed.
point.
Britt, did you
Yeah.
have Lucky Charms or did you have Life cereal this morning?
Ooh.
Did you have oatmeal or did you have?
I had eggs and sausage, and I put hot sauce on the eggs and a little bit of salt.
See,
and
now the
I
internet
took a from Embassy Suites. I took a coffee to go.
So there.
Now the internet knows.
Now the internet knows.
The reality.
Exactly what I did this morning.
My point is that the reality is that there are so many things that all of us can do to protect our privacy. Turn off your location services. Turn off EXIF data on your pictures, which we're going to talk about in a minute here before we shut this off because that's an important one. Shut off EXIF data. Don't post what you ate today. Don't post a picture of your kid going to school today.
I'm going to use a phrase that you use. Don't be a bad dude.
Yeah.
Don't be a bad dude.
Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a bad dude.
Yeah, don't be a bad dude. There's so many things that we can do. And so the difference between just throwing in the towel and saying it's over and I don't care and saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and go through my phone today and I'm going to reset my Facebook security and privacy settings in my Facebook app. Go ahead, use Facebook. Facebook is debatably not evil, but you got to set your privacy settings.
There are some apps
you can
out
set
there.
that stuff.
There are some apps out there to be leery about. I was doing a
Face app is one of them for sure.
Face app is one of them. Another one is TikTok.
TikTok is
So
not bueno. Yeah,
well,
Very
I hear
China.
it's more teenage based, but it's a China company, but their servers are in California and in the Philippines. So the whole China law does not fall on, but they're owned by. It's very confusing.
What's
so
the
the whole
7-second
TikTok app?
video?
You know, don't do that.
What's the 7-second video? I mean, there's YouTube, and then what's the 7-second video?
Snapchat.
No,
Snapchat.
No.
Yeah.
Dang it.
7-second video. I don't even know.
Like you're limited to like
Vine?
There we go.
Oh,
So is
yeah,
TikTok
Vine.
like Vine now?
TikTok is very much like Vine.
Well, no. Vine is YouTube, and they're short snippet videos that make you laugh.
Yeah,
that's what Vine is.
7-second videos.
Well, but TikTok stepped in and took that space over. But
And
the
you
problem,
can have a longer video, I guess.
The problem with TikTok is somehow, whether it targeted them or
Well, they bought another a Musical.ly or something like that.
Yeah.
They bought Musical.ly, and then it formed into this TikTok app.
So TikTok. Here's the deal with TikTok.
I've seen TikTok videos, but I didn't.
I mean,
deal
people
is,
because they post them online and they go on to Facebook too as well.
So the deal is, I know too much about TikTok. So TikTok, you're right.
China
they
company.
took over Musical.ly, but music.ly is Musical.ly. So anyone, by the way, .ly.
It's not a .com. It's
Yeah, it's not
.ly.
.com. Does anyone know what .ly is?
Luxembourg, Liechtenstein.
Keep going. No, worse.
Lucky
you're
you.
You're going down the right path.
Lucky you.
But way worse.
Yeah.
Libya.
Oh, is it real? Oh, okay.
Yeah, ly is Libya.
Libya.
So .ly. So anytime you've seen like the URL of bit.ly, that is the universal URL for Libya. So
Libyans.
every country
They found me. I don't know how, but they found me.
Oh my gosh!
Every country
What a
has their
great
own
movie.
domain name extension, and Libya's is .ly. Well, it turns out that in English, .ly makes anything an adverb. So they sold their entire domain name
Duh.
to the United States. Well, they still have degrees of control over it. So anything that uses .ly has visibility in Libya. Just saying.
Visibility.
Make a choice.
Yeah.
Visibility.ly. But
Lee.
so
Visibly.
anyway, now I'm totally derailed. But
Sorry.
I don't know where I was going, but there's things we can
Watch
do.
out what you post.
Yeah, make good choices.
Yeah.
Don't post pictures of your kids without their permission, right? Even when they're babies, right? They didn't ask for that. They didn't sign a waiver. The elementary school, when they're in kindergarten, makes you sign a waiver, but you don't sign a waiver with Facebook. The other thing about Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, all those things is every single one of those companies are publicly traded organizations.
Yeah.
So when the day comes that Mark Zuckerberg says,
I'm out.
I can't take the heat. I don't want to go before Congress again one more time. I've had enough of it. So you know what? It's for sale. All of it. Facebook. It's for sale. It's an IPO. It's publicly traded organization. I'm out. I'm going to take my billions of dollars and I'm going to walk away. And I'm going to sell it to the highest bidder. I can tell you right now who the highest bidder is. China, Russia.
Yeah.
And here's what happens.
Maybe Germany. I mean, they're in there. They're gonna be nice.
No.
Seriously,
They're a close seventh.
They won't outbid. They won't outbid China or Russia. So when those countries take over those organizations, all of that data that you voluntarily signed away in your terms and conditions now belongs to and is the property of those companies. So regardless of what you did to go into your Facebook settings and set your privacy and your security settings, that data belongs to them. They can say, yeah, we're Facebook now. Privacy settings aren't a thing. And that's all public now. So because you signed it over to the organization, and now we're the organization, and we say privacy is not a thing.
Another good way to solve this problem as well is, do you like your job? Do you want to maintain a paycheck? Don't post bad things about where you work.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic in itself. But you want to get yourself fired real quick, go ahead and diss your company that you work for, and you will be fired.
Deadspin. Have you
Monday morning.
Have you guys seen the recent things about Deadspin.com?
I don't even know what that is.
Deadspin is a blog. It's under the same management of Kotaku, Deadspin.
It's a political blog, right?
No, Deadspin it was supposed to be a sports blog, but anyway,
it's gone way far off of that.
Lifehacker.com.
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys have seen Lifehacker, right?
Yeah.
Lifehacker, Deadspin, Kotaku,
things you should know,
gamer things you should know. So there's a series of websites, and Deadspin was one of them, and they had a bunch of writers that were supposed to be writing sports articles, and when Deadspin went under new management, new ownership, they said, capitalist pigs, and my new owner is a jerk, and I don't disagree. I disagree with his political standings, and I hate the fact that I'm going to work for this
Gone
person.
tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah, they all got fired. Surprise, surprise.
Sometimes private things need to stay private.
Yeah,
and
welcome to capitalism.
Work is one of those things.
Sorry,
you
man.
need to keep that private. Don't diss your company or who you work for.
Yeah, don't diss your
unless
company.
you want to get fired, I guess.
Well, and to that note, as far as social media and blogging and those things go,
Careful what you post.
So, to that note, right?
I mean, I work at a facility that giant corporations come to, and it's very taboo to post, especially the things that are going on with, like, let's just say I go in there and I snap a photo, and I'm taking a photo of the set, but they have something on the screens that the public shouldn't see.
Right.
And I accidentally post that.
Yep.
That is a means of being fired as well. That's a huge privacy thing.
That happens a lot in hospitals, health systems.
It's all down to watch what you post.
Well, so correct, but one of the places where people kind of fall short or fail to realize is if they take selfies.
What's in the background? What's in the
background?
Well, even those selfies are documented of your location.
Well,
and time of date and stamped and all that.
So yes, but here's the deal: even with a company like a hospital marketing department goes around to whatever, right? IT, right? And IT, it's IT, right? They're not even in the same building; they're off, somewhere else. But marketing's going to go take a picture of the employee of the month, and they take the photo. But up on the screen, on the monitor behind them, is patient information.
And because
the reflection.
No, it's not even the reflection. They just take a photo of an employee in their cubicle, but right behind them, they're like, "Hey, Britt, spin around in your chair. We're going to take your photo." So you spin around, and the computer monitor is right behind you.
And because cameras are so good,
or there's a sticky note or something, or your password
is
written on a sticky note on your desk, or patient information on your desk or up on your screen, and they snap that photo and they post it on the internet for the whole planet to scrutinize. And guess what they find? All the things you're not supposed to post, right? and now you got to do a HIPAA disclosure and a we're sorry and all those things. That actually, if you recall,
cameras nowadays.
If you recall, a few years ago, when there was a nuclear missile launch scare from Hawaii. Do you recall that?
Yeah, so they sent out so it wasn't a So there's
a couple things went wrong here.
Yeah, so there's
comedy of errors.
Yeah, so in Hawaii they have a text messaging program where it actually alerts you if there's something, kind of like if there's a tornado here,
a hurricane,
or not in Nebraska, but yes, a tornado
in Hawaii.
In Hawaii, not so. I mean, they kind of
monsoon, but whatever.
Yeah, monsoons are more
big
prevalent.
waves.
Yeah, but it's like an emergency broadcast system, but via text message.
Neat.
And literally everybody in Hawaii, literally everybody,
but also people in L.A.
but that subscribe to this program.
Yeah.
Got hey, there was a nuclear missile launch.
There's a nuclear missile headed your way. Yep. You're going to die.
Yep.
And then following that, a minute later was, oops.
Yeah, it was like, and this is not a test. And then 2 minutes later, it was like, whoopsies.
Whoops, just kidding. JK.
It's because the
April Fools.
It's because
just messing with you
for a couple of reasons. So one, the initial reasoning was the user interface was terrible. So the user interface for this emergency broadcast system was the test button was immediately above the real button, right? And so it was either you click test or you click real.
And you got fat fingers. You messing it all up.
Yeah, you got fat fingers.
Dang it.
And you're on. And dude took the afternoon off, so he did it, on his cell phone rather than on his computer, and just
hit the fat finger button.
Yeah, just literally fat fingered it. But bad day for him.
Yeah, but fired.
So bad day for that guy. So then it became a big news story.
Well, yeah.
So they went and they took a photo of him.
How do we resolve this problem?
They went and they took a photo of him.
Oh, gosh.
In his cubicle.
Duh.
And the password for the emergency broadcast system was on a sticky note on his monitor right there. And it was password 1. And it was not a good
password 1.
Come on, man.
Admin,
yeah. All lowercase.
Here's the deal. As complex as we force, I'm in cybersecurity, so as complex as we force a password to be, if I say it has to be 12 characters and alphanumeric.
That's another good way to solve this problem is have
somebody's
good
gonna write it on a
password
sticky.
protection.
But listen to what I'm saying here. As much as I can force it, I can say make it 12 characters, alphanumeric with complexity and with number.
Changing once a week.
And guess what? Password 1, 2, 3, shift $sign for 4 meets the criteria. Because it's alphanumeric, it's 12 characters, it has password complexity.
You got an uppercase and lowercase
It has a special character, it's upper and lowercase. Guess what? You just met the complexity requirement using password 1, 2, 3 $sign. And we all failed. Because that's password number 6 in the brute force dictionary when they try to brute force your password.
Right. But with my company, they make me change my password. They make me. Once a month.
Which means that you're probably going to write it in a sticky somewhere.
No,
so
I don't.
There are people that do that.
Yeah, most people. Well, so here's the deal.
I got one guy that does,
that,
and he doesn't work at our property.
So the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, has written a new standard on password management, and they dissuade you from password resets. So it used to be the standard was 90 days. Then they reduced it to 30 days, and then they said you need to make it longer. It used to be 6, then it was 8, now it's 12, now it's 14. And the reality is that what you need to do is make the passwords as long as you can, and do not force your users to reset them at any
Or how about this?
periodicity.
Make it a two-parter, and it's linked to your phone, and you go, yep, that was me logging on.
Okay, so here's a fun fact. Microsoft, Google, Apple, Amazon do not use passwords in their corporate environments whatsoever.
They use facial recognition and thumbprints.
Those are both things that you are, so inaccurate. They use hard tokens, so they use a USB key, like a physical USB.
Oh, yeah. I remember TD Ameritrade had those things that you'd plug right in.
The
always ever-changing USB key.
Key fob.
Well,
Key fob.
so
There you
okay,
go.
so you guys are thinking of hard tokens that go on your keychain that have a rolling 6-digit pin that changes every so often.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a physical USB that goes on like your keychain or something that's removable, and then you plug it into a USB port.
And that's who you are.
And it physically unlocks your computer. Your computer will not work unless that physical device is plugged into that USB port. And when it's plugged in, then and only then is your password or PIN number valid. So even if I approach that computer and I turn it on and I type in the password,
It's not going to do anything unless
it's not valid unless it is combined with that physical USB token. And guess what? If you drove an hour to go to work at
and you forgot USB token,
at
you better
Microsoft,
turn around and go back.
you're going to drive your butt home and grab that USB because they're not going to give you a visitor USB token.
Nope.
That's not a thing. So if you forgot your USB, you're going to go back home and you're going
And
to
if
get
you
one.
lose it, it's a whole day process.
But none of those organizations use passwords. They use two-factor authentication, void of password or PIN number.
So you hear that out there, companies? Let's start working on the two-factor authentication.
That is a paradigm change.
Yeah.
In the entire global economy. As soon as we can do away with the password paradigm, we've made a major shift
Is it
in security and privacy.
Biometrics and all that? Is that what you're using instead of passwords?
So a physical key, like a physical USB, like a YubiKey, that you plug in, and then
blood sample?
blood sample. You gotta pin
My
your
thumb hates
and
me
then-
so much.
and
It's
then
been
plug
pricked
it in.
92 times this week.
My glucose level is up, but hey, I got it in the computer.
I have HIV, but I'm validated.
Not true.
Wait, come on now. No, so I was just saying that Microsoft, Google, Amazon, none of those companies use passwords to any degree whatsoever. They've completely eliminated the password paradigm. So Microsoft uses Microsoft Hello, which is facial recognition.
Mm-hmm.
So you sit down in front of a machine that has
Camera.
3D infrared facial recognition camera.
1 million points on your face plus voice recognition.
It's not voice. So voice recognition.
Wouldn't that be Microsoft Hello? I mean,
Voice is an option. So the facial recognition recognizes your face, and then you do a 4-digit PIN. And so the combination of the two, something you are and something you know.
but the PIN is a password.
The PIN is a PIN. So
That's a
pins
type of a password.
false for reasons.
What's the difference between a PIN and a password?
Pins and passwords are different for this reason.
Pins are shorter.
Okay.
And passwords
Yep.
are longer.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. So a
Yeah.
PIN is typically 4 digits, right? And a
A lot more
4-digit
keystrokes.
4-digit PIN is easy to guess, right? But you have a 4-digit PIN on your debit card. Why?
You have a 4-digit PIN or a 5-digit or
Because you have a
3-digit PIN on your
Chip and PIN.
Because
car garage.
because the PIN number is physically associated
That physical
with the physical card. And so a PIN is only valid when it is used in association with a physical thing. So a PIN is only a PIN when it only works on either one laptop or associated with one physical card. If you have a password, it doesn't matter where in the world I am. If I go to facebook.com, my password
will get you in.
will log me in.
Okay. Fair.
PIN versus password.
Fair.
And that is why pins are shorter and don't have to be reset.
Because you need the physical
Because you
thing.
need two
Because
things.
it has to be associated with the physical thing.
Yeah.
If you steal my pin, you have to have the physical thing for that pin to be effective.
But computers have passwords. When really it's a physical thing and I could just put a PIN on it.
Correct. But I have to physically steal that
Right.
computer.
So why do we need passwords instead of pins?
You could,
degrees-
Brian,
reasons?
Brian,
Degrees of
this I
trust.
put a pin in. It's
That's
like
true.
a computer.
Degrees of trust, degrees of risk, right? So, and degrees of management as well. So, in a corporate environment, if I have 3,000 computers and I have an employee who calls in and says, I forgot my PIN, I say, that sucks. Good luck with that. But if I say, if the user calls in and says, I forgot my password, then the help desk says, I'll reset that for you.
But what if you hand out iPads that only require a PIN?
Don't do that. So that's the thing. The thing is what's your company? What's your risk level? What's your tolerance? What's your level of management? All of this stuff is degrees of management and acceptance of risk. Not everything is about risk elimination. It's about risk management. So who are we? How much data is on the iPad? How sensitive is that data? Do we need pins? Do we need passwords?
Is it 4-digit?
Do we need AD?
Do we need tracking
4? Do we need
locations
6?
for the iPads?
Do they need to change every 90 days? Do they need to change every 30 days? Do they need to change hourly? What are we talking about here? Are these the blueprints for the F-35 Strike Fighter? Or are these what? Or
Your kids'
is this a recipe?
playpad, yeah.
Is this a recipe for our latest beer, or is this our latest beatbox for the track I want to lay down? Who's trying to steal it? Is there a threat here? There's so many questions to properly manage, but
The
not
data.
necessarily eliminate the risk. You're not going to eliminate the risk. It's just what is the risk and how do we manage it?
Gentlemen, I think we've effectively figured this out.
Well, kind of. I mean,
I think we have. I mean, there's companies that need to be involved and double authenticity.
Authenticate.
Thank you. Authenticate. It was not coming out of my mouth properly. Watch what you post online. Don't give all your data. Don't store it all in one place and make it easily accessible for people.
Delete TikTok. Delete it right now.
Yeah, delete that. Just monitor what you do online, because if you're monitoring what you do online, like there's a new thing on Facebook now where you can put something on Facebook and it's there, and it's like it's there only for 24 hours and then it's gone.
That's a
and,
lie.
You know, that's a lie. It's being stored somewhere that.
you mean all my happy birthdays that I send to people do not actually delete after 24 hours?
Well,
For
there's
anyone who
there's
screenshots. For anyone who has a print screen key on their keyboard, which is everyone, then that's permanent.
dang it.
Just be careful out there. Just, you know.
Quick question before we sign off and do the after talk.
Yeah.
VPNs, cell phone based, which is relatively new, and home based.
Virtual private
helpful
networks.
doesn't matter.
So I would say this. Once again, on the comment that I just said, it's a risk-based choice, right? What is it that you're trying to do? How much privacy are you trying to maintain? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
But generally speaking, for the average layperson American, I think that it is appropriate for them to use a VPN service. That said, many of the VPN services that are provided, even at cost,
Come from China.
are compromised, right? And even if you use a VPN service,
NordVPN, right? They just got hacked, right?
NordVPN is one of the biggest providers, and they just got hacked.
So in about 2 months, go after Nord, because like they will patch that.
Effectively fix the problem.
Brian's hung out with me enough to know that you always subscribe to the company who just got breached.
Yeah.
After
Why?
they fix the problem.
Because as soon as a company gets breached, then they take security seriously. Then they step it up. But
It's good. That's good.
having a VPN versus not having one is better. Here's the deal. Okay, NordVPN just got breached. So here are your choices. Like line out what your options are. I had no VPN service whatsoever. All my internet traffic from everything that I did on the internet from my home could have been monitored, tracked. They knew what websites I visited, what data that I entered, anything that was not encrypted with a strong encryption algorithm, which is like half with the websites, is compromisable. If not compromised, it's compromisable. Or I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and pay for NordVPN. And all my internet traffic is encrypted. It's very hard to man in the middle. It's very hard to decrypt. Possible, but more difficult, right? You're adding layers of difficulty. You're slowing down.
You're not the low-hanging fruit.
Right. You're not the... Excuse me.
No
You're not the low-hanging fruit. Yeah. If someone wants to track everything you're doing,
They can.
they're gonna. Right? But if someone's
Try to make it harder for them.
precisely, we call that defense in depth, right? We slow down the attacker. We make it more difficult for them. We make it not worth their time.
You don't know my next move.
Time is money, right? And so we make it not worth their time. And worth their time is a financial statement. We make it not worth their time, their financial investment of their time to try to attack me, right? Or to track me. Now, if you've done something evil, this is where I backtrack on my statements before. If you have done something evil,
And the government knows about it. Then they
I'm
will-
not going to sit here and teach you how to protect yourself because you're evil. But, it's going to cost you a lot of money, and it's going to take a team of professionals to cover your tracks. Because if the NSA or the FBI or someone is looking for you because you've done something wrong, they're probably going to find you unless you really know what you're doing.
Quickly.
Yeah. But generally speaking, don't just blindly, willingly open yourself up to degradation of privacy or, compromise of your security.
Bravo.
Yes.
And we're now sitting at almost 3 hours.
Yeah. I think, yes. After talk, and and then that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Boats.
did we cover what
Sorry,
you were wanting to?
I talked
I'm
too
happy.
much.
You're fine. You're totally cool.
I'm happy.
Did we go nuclear on what you wanted to talk about?
No, I was able to self-promote to some extent, and that's always appreciated,
Yeah.
Let me just shout out Aorta Hip Hop. Shout out Josh Otis, Curbside Clothing downtown. That's my dude who did my album art. He's amazing, Josh Otis. Shout out Brad Sabbath. He's my cousin. He's another sick MC. He is crazy. And yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
Do you want to do
glad to have you
a
here.
quick shot of the album?
Oh yeah, my
Yeah.
album is Titrathe, Titrathe.
Move the big tall bottle, would you?
My name is B0des, B0des. If you just Google B0des, B0des, you'll find me everywhere. It's not easy listening. I know it's out of style, but your attention span has to be more than 60 seconds if you want something
Which is
that
tough.
is Brian, thank you for listening. Seriously. I know it's sort of out of style. I come from the era of trying to go deep on an album and find something with depth.
Honestly, I had to listen to a couple times. Like the first time through, I was just like, I didn't
Comprehend it.
Yeah, there's another.
I needed to die when I listened to it the first time.
Like you need to listen to it a couple times because there's some lyrics in there that.
I'll tell you what, man. I have not heard anything other than the
Play a little bit after
than
the
the,
after
than the minute or so that we listened to earlier, but I'm intrigued. These guys' notes, and then how you described it when you said that this opens up like a Tool album, like it's the first CD you ever bought. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Tool is the first CD I ever bought, and I saw some weird
Whoop,
shit.
there it is,
when I
was
opened
me.
it up. Mine was
PM down
actually
and whoop there it was.
Mine was actually the Black Album in '91, Metallica Black Album. It was like the first. It was the first album I bought. But no,
You want me to write down the time?
I legit bought. Did I swear?
You did.
What? When? Just now?
Man, it just rolls off your tongue.
No big deal. Moving on.
I don't.
No,
even
it's all
know.
good.
We got you.
Shout out to the deep web. Shout out to Steam It. Shout out to all these decentralized services. All these underground social networks. Someday y'all will rise up. I'm hoping to represent all that. All the decentralized stuff, because that's what I'm aiming for. I feel like it segues into this perfectly, because Facebook has been good to me so far, but just the way I see it is we need to decentralize all this stuff, and that's the market I'm aiming for. I'm probably 10 years ahead of my time, so I'm going to toil away in obscurity. But yeah,
And then blow up.
yeah, and then maybe when I'm dead or something, people will look at it.
Just don't cut off your ear. You
Exactly.
need that.
But no, The
Van
video.
Gogh. Never
Oh,
mind.
Van Gogh.
That's-
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
come on now.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I'm like,
The
what?
video on B0des.com is hosted on Steam, which is supposed to be decentralized video. I don't really know if it's truly decentralized. That could be a topic for next time. But
Steam
yeah,
it.
that's a whole nother conversation. Is the decentralized web? Like how do we get away from having all these middlemen controlling everything? Because like that's what I'm looking at. So
Antitrust.
Yeah, well, the 6 people controlling all the media that we see.
Great movie.
Yeah, all that
Open
kind of stuff.
source, open code.
All
Anyway.
right. Well, I appreciate you being on the program.
Yeah.
and providing the topic. So
Thank you.
That's
Worked out awesome.
Yeah,
Especially since Snowden just had his thing.
yeah, that was perfect perfect timing, really. And
Staying current with the topics.
Yep. Even though he came out in 2013 originally, you know, now he's starting to break into it and doing talks and speeches and podcasts and all that, and
Wrote a book.
wrote a book. Yep. Which that was in the feed. So thank you for all that were on the feed and providing comments and all that. There's quite a few. So
We'll get back to you in due time.
Yeah. Appreciate you. We're gonna end this and then we'll probably do the after talk and see where we go from there. But my name's Brian.
I'm Britt.
B0des.
And Mike.
And Mike returning. Thank you again, Mike, for your knowledge base.
Fun times.